You have entered the Chronic's rabbit hole. And Chronicans, welcome to or welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle, aka Chronic, and we are back with Rotten Mango's 4 episodes of the pre-trial episodes of Diddy's case. And we're on part 3 today. We just finished the suspicious death of Diddy's ex, Kim Porter, and the tell-all book of Diddy, which was very interesting because it doesn't look like it actually was written by Kim Porter. Or any of that. We also found out a little bit of like Diddy's mother and like his history growing up with roaches on his face and getting a disgust level at such a high degree that he became a savage from it. And now today we're on episode 3 and we're doing 13 deaths around Diddy, 9 victims of City College incident, Tupac and Biggie, Kim Porter, and more. And I'm very excited, and thank you all so much for your support on the other Rotten Mango episodes, and I hope you're excited for part 3 as well. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, so with that in mind, I need to learn, and thank you all for the comments in the previous P Diddy episodes here, to not be so judgmental right away and to let the information like kind of stand for itself and to obviously reflect on what I'm thinking and all that, but maybe not pass so much judgment on everything going on because it's pretty self-evident as well, and I'm not trying to rub too many feathers here, but I do want to be as honest as I can with what I'm thinking too. So with all of that said, I find it very interesting now knowing that Sean Diddy Combs was not singing at all before the death of Tupac and Biggie, and after Biggie's death is when he started putting out music himself. So I find that very interesting. The whole Kim Porter thing is just strange as heck, how she died from pneumonia, and I never knew there was a City College incident where 9 more victims left, and there's more somehow. So don't get on the wrong side of Diddy, y'all. Here is part 3.
Bada bing, bada boo.
May 7th, 2012. Machine Gun Kelly makes a tweet.
Okay.
That tweet reads, okay, so I just saw a picture of Eminem's daughter, and I have to say, she's hot as f***, in the most respectful way possible because Eminem is king. The problem with this tweet at that point in 2012 is that Eminem's daughter would have been 16 years old at the time.
Oh.
And then nothing happened from this tweet. For about 5 years, nothing happened. There were no repercussions. There were these little whispers and interviews that MGK does that allude to the idea that perhaps Eminem was unhappy with that tweet. And perhaps Eminem was trying to blackball him from the industry because of that tweet.
What did you say about his daughter that got him so mad?
Yes.
What did you say?
You know what I said.
That she's hot.
She's hot.
You have to admit you was out of line for that.
These are just internet rumors. These are celebrity gossip. It's not until 2018
Well, if
that
she's
it gets
16 at the
confirmed.
time, that is
These
out of
two
pocket.
do not like each other.
No.
In 2018, Machine Gun Kelly drops a song called Rap Devil. Now, this is very interesting because it's a play on words. If you guys know anything about Eminem's discography, one of his most famous, well-known songs, it's called Rap God. So for
Yes.
Machine Gun Kelly to drop Rap Devil, it's clearly a hit on Eminem.
It sure
Once
is.
you read the lyrics, it gets even crazier. And these two start dropping diss tracks against
Love
each
their
other.
diss tracks,
and
to
we're
be
not
honest.
here to talk about MGK and Eminem.
I know.
It's just that as they're releasing these diss tracks, there is one
That's
name
eerie.
that keeps popping up in all their songs. Diddy. Sean Diddy Combs. In Rap Devil,
Very
MGK
true.
raps
Very,
about how
very
he's
true.
signed with Bad Boy Records. And the lyrics read, why are you claiming that I'm going to call
Ooh, I
Puff
forgot.
when you're the one that called Diddy? Then you went and called Jimmy. Jimmy is a guy that runs Interscope Records, which MGK is also part of. They conferenced me in the morning and they told me that you was mad about a tweet. You wanted me to say sorry? I swear to God, I didn't even believe him. Please say it's not so. The big bad bully of the rap game can't take a fucking joke. He's basically saying, hello world, Eminem was so mad for the past 6 years, so mad about this tweet from 6 years ago that he called both my record label bosses, Diddy, who owns Bad Boy Records, and Jimmy, who owns Interscope Records, to bitch about it. But that's crazy because he's the big bad wolf that can do anything, right? So he can do anything but take a joke? To
Right.
which Eminem releases a diss track titled Kill Shot, where he makes many disses towards MGK, but again, we're not here to discuss that. We're here for Diddy. He makes a reference for Diddy in that song as well.
Okay.
The lyrics read, "But Kels, the day you put out a hit is the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed." Eminem, in his song, whether he is serious or it's just creative liberty, he has just now accused Diddy of murder. But at the end of the song, Eminem says, "And I'm just playing, Diddy. You know I love you." Diddy never made a public statement about Eminem's lyrics, but sources that were close to Diddy said he was furious.
Wow.
He was pissed off. So what the hell does this all mean? If he's not joking, that means Eminem truly just accused Diddy of killing one of the biggest names in the rap world, Tupac? But that was in 2018. Nobody was focusing on Diddy. Nobody was focusing on these lyrics. They were so caught up in the diss tracks between MGK and Eminem, and the fact that Kill Shot was one of the most viewed videos within 24 hours of releasing. Some people picked up on it. They thought it was clever. But again, it doesn't make mainstream news like that.
Yeah.
Until 2024.
Oh, boy.
This year, Eminem releases yet another song called Fuel. And this time, it's in your face. The lyrics read,
I've actually never heard
"Unlike
Fuel."
an RAPER got so many essays." Wait, he didn't just spell the word rapper and leave out a P, did he?
Jeez.
Rest in peace, Biggie and Pac, both of y'all should be living. But I ain't trying to beef with him, cause he might put a hit out on me like Keffy D get him.
Jeez,
When
that's
was
straight
this?
up.
A few months ago. Now, in a 3.5-minute song where Eminem is rapping at an unhumanly fast speed, it might be hard to realize, especially if you don't know many of the people that he's referencing. I mean, the
Exactly.
RAPER, that one is very obvious. He's calling P Diddy a raper. But
Yeah.
the next part, he's talking about two rappers that were murdered, Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. They were both related to Diddy. One,
They were.
he saw as his main competitor, and the other one he saw as this money-making machine for his label. And within 6 months of each other, both of them were murdered. There are new
Jeez.
allegations surfacing that Diddy might be responsible for both, which a lot of people find it very easy to believe, considering that Diddy has a past of people dying around him. This is part 3 of the Diddy case, where we cover the 13 deaths closely linked to Diddy and all the
Eerie
supposed
number,
evidence
too.
there might be linking him to those murders.
Wait, I missed that last part.
Linking him closely linked to Diddy and all the supposed evidence there might be linking him to those murders.
Right, okay. Well, chaos follows chaos. When you want to get to the top of the world and you got no soul, you're going to take people down who look like they're going to be a threat.
We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network. They work constantly to bring solutions to the illegal and human trafficking network in the States. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team. We would also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Now, a big disclaimer on this case, it is currently ongoing and developing as we speak. There have been no court verdicts yet, so unfortunately, I must legally state that these are all the current allegations and accusations. People are innocent until
said
proven
again.
guilty. Some statements have been shortened for time, and furthermore, all reporting for this episode is taken from the information that is already available online. Please form your own opinions and do your own research. I am not here to convince you of anyone's guilt or innocence. Some potentially triggering themes involve heavy use of illicit substances, including date, R-word drugs, DV, workplace and gang violence, essays, trafficking.
What's
This case is
interesting there is she doesn't say rape, but she says raper. And I know it's always for making sure she doesn't get like demonetized and all that for her videos as well. But again, I think just giving, if the video's really gonna get blocked for saying rape but not raper, like that's really confusing for me too. So that's why I always think just don't put the power behind the name so you actually can make sure you're addressing these things correctly.
going to be very heavy. So in part 1, we did a deep dive on Diddy and Cassie's lawsuit, as well as the allegations of the freak-offs and the supposed Illuminati connection.
Yeah, this guy
in part
here.
2, we did Diddy's yacht parties and the mysterious death of his ex-girlfriend and the mother of his children, Kim Porter, and the so-called
Don't
memoir
forget
that
his
was
son.
released on Amazon. This part, we will be talking about the 13 people that are mysteriously linked to Diddy that have died, including hip-hop legends Tupac and Biggie. In part 4,
So
we're going to go over
sad.
current ongoing allegations, new lawsuits, and all the celebrities that have been listed on the so-called Diddy's list. So another quick disclaimer, I did not grow up in the Tupac Biggie era. I've listened to their songs before, and I know that these are two of the most
Icons.
influential artists to this day.
Yes.
And the significance that they played in the music industry, even posthumously, I mean, I know that much, but in terms of their upbringing, their beliefs in the world, I can only tell you from researching in hindsight. I did speak with people who have a deeper appreciation for the two artists, and I tried to include as much possible, but given the runtime of these pods and the fact that most of the conversation is still going to be centered around Diddy and the potential connection in their deaths, this is not going to cover their artistry, the way that they create music, their beliefs, and the impact that they had on the greater world. I think that would take 3 more episodes. I also know that there's people that are still pro Tupac or pro Biggie and not the other. I tried to get a comprehensive overview on both, but I don't have a preference for either, nor am I trying to convince you to like one more over the other, truly. So with that being said, let's get into it.
But because she's not trying to ask you, please let me know, Tupac or Biggie. Let me know. Don't say both. If I had to pick, I'm gonna have to go with Pac, even though Biggie is pretty dang good. Tupac's just got so many good singles out there. If you check out his greatest hits album, you'll understand why.
Do you know one of Diddy's biggest songs?
No.
It's called I'll Be Missing You.
Yeah,
When
of
it was
course.
released, it hit #1 on the Billboard's Hot 100 charts
Love
for
this
22
song.
consecutive weeks, which is kind of insane. The lyrics read, "Every day I wake up, I hope I'm dreaming. I can't believe this shit. I mean, I saw your son. He looks just like you. You will always be the greatest. You'll always be the greatest. I miss you big." The chorus of the song goes, "Every step I take, every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you. Thinking of the day when you went away, what a life to take, what a bond to break. I'll be missing you." This song is probably the song that many people think of when they want to really resonate with lyrics of losing someone. It's
got
often
that
played
right.
at funerals.
Yeah.
It's about missing someone that's gone too soon. The whole thing was technically taken, actually, this whole song, from Sting's Every Breath You
It
Take.
sure was.
He took a sample of that song and he just rewrote the lyrics without receiving the proper permission. Sting actually gets 100% of the royalties for that song to this day.
Yeah.
But that is besides the point.
No,
It was
that's not besides the point. Literally, Diddy has to pay $2,000, I believe, a day to Sting for that "I'll Be Missing You" melody, and I think that's incredible to know he didn't ask for actual permission for that.
probably one of the most pivotal songs during that time. And it
Very
was a
pivotal
tribute
song.
to his fallen friend, Notorious
Another
B.I.G.
tribute,
It
eh?
actually won him a Grammy.
And
the
it
wild
won him
thing
a
is,
Grammy.
in 2024, if we live in a world where some of the conspiracies turn out to be true, that means Diddy would have written this song as a tribute
Yeah.
to the man that he may have helped kill and sang it alongside the wife of the man that was murdered. This is the
Whoa!
Diddy connection to Tupac and Biggie's murdered.
Wait, I actually didn't know that. Oh. And his wife singing with Diddy in the song. Literally. Biggie's wife singing with Diddy in "I'll Be Missing You" as a tribute. Wow. I think that is not besides the point. That's just another layer to show you what's really going down.
This is the Diddy connection to
The
Tupac
alleged
and
Diddy
Biggie
connection.
and their murders that everybody suspects Diddy was involved in. This particular elevator ride is taking a lot longer than normal. This is way back in the day. Typically to go up 8 floors, it would take about 48 seconds, but this is feeling like a lifetime. When Tupac gets up to the 8th floor, he can't even feel anything. His whole body is numb. He says, "When I got upstairs, I looked around and it scared the shit out of me." He sees standing there Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., famous rapper, alongside 40 other guys, including Sean Diddy Combs. They were all there working on a new album titled, interestingly enough, Conspiracy.
Oh, wow.
Then one of the guys
Junior
there
Mafia.
bursts out crying, "Oh my God, Pac, you have to sit down, you have to sit down." Tupac said, "I was feeling weird. Like, why do they want me to sit down?" It's like nobody wanted to approach him. He says, "I noticed that nobody would look at me. Diddy was standing back too, and I knew Diddy. He knew how much stuff I had done for his artist Biggie before he came out." Whatever was said, or rather not said in that room, would solidify everything. Because in that cramped room, Tupac is practically alone, having been shot 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Twice in the head, twice in the groin, once in the hand.
Really?
And he has a feeling that one or a few people in that room have something to do with it. He was shot in the lobby of a studio. He hides in the elevator, takes the elevator up to the 8th floor, and there's Biggie, Diddy, and all these other artists on the east side.
Wow.
He just got shot?
Just got shot. He's bleeding out.
By himself.
And no one wants to approach him,
And
according
this is
to
not
Tupac.
the time when he dies.
And it was in that moment that
Wow.
he felt someone in that room had something to do with this shooting.
Holy
Diddy
crap.
and Biggie. And perhaps he was right. Perhaps he wasn't right. But within 2 years, Tupac would be dead.
Wow.
Do you know who shot
why
you?
did I not know that?
No. So does that
Well,
mean
I know who
that
shot me.
you also have no idea why they shot you?
No, I have no idea why they shot me. It's like anybody's guess. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't really like to talk about it.
I don't really like to talk
is a
about it. And again, I know this is about Diddy, but still, the influence of, like she's saying, Tupac and Biggie have. I really did not know he got shot 2 years prior to when he actually died and got shot in the car. And I do find that ominously eerie. And this is why I think she's saying don't try to pick a side here, because that's not what this video ultimately is about. But it's also just interesting because she's so good at her journalism, as well as bringing everything in, that you can dive into whatever part she brings up because it's that entertaining and enticing how she lays it out.
Conspiracy out there that Tupac Shakur, one of the biggest artists of all time, that he's more actually commonly referred to as a cultural phenomenon than a rapper, has faked their death. That's the conspiracy. Tupac is alive.
Can you imagine if he actually did?
He's out there. He's just watching all of us.
What?
Could you
This
imagine?
is the conspiracy that he's still alive. So if you know anything about Tupac, a lot of people might have wanted him dead. The vice president at the time, Don Quayle, who served under George W. Bush, he would state about some of Tupac's music, "There is absolutely no reason for a record like this to be published."
Really?
No reason at all.
Time Warner's a subsidiary, Interscope Records, withdraw this record. It has no place in our society.
Why? I mean, some would say because Tupac would release songs that served as social commentary. He was trying to enact change.
All the time.
One song is titled White Man's World. Notable lyrics read, "One thing they ever did wrong was
Haven't heard
being
this
born
song.
black in this white man's world. Being born with less, I must confess, only adds to the stress. Proud to be black, but why we act like we don't love ourselves. Don't look around, check yourself. Know what it means to be black, whether a man or girl. We're still struggling in this white man's world. We must fight for the countless political prisoners who are locked up falsely by the white man." He
Jeez.
names prominent activists who fought for black rights. The government did not like this song.
I bet.
For a long time, Tupac was actually on the FBI watch list.
What?
Now, it's really hard to summarize who
And now, being a lot more introspective, I do notice the systemic racism in a lot of organizations and government now, where at first I wasn't really willing to say it as much, maybe because I'm a white male as well. Maybe that was my inherent bias. As we all found out, everyone really does have inherent biases. So I think that's interesting that even the vice president is saying we shouldn't even put out this Tupac album. And like, come on, y'all, there's people talking about wet pussies and all that, and no one's getting mad about that. But we're talking about social change, and now all of a sudden we're vigilantes.
Tupac was. And obviously, nobody is defined by their career, but Tupac is different. He had a lot of intense views. And I say intense to highlight that it was intense for him. It was not smooth sailing for him to say these things because they might be considered normal right now. But the things that he was saying like 20 years ago, back then, he's making people uncomfortable. He's making the FBI uncomfortable. So all that's to say, he's very ahead of his time. He's saying things like, I would have to change the world or I have to be changed by the world.
Yep.
In an interview, he once said,
Beautiful.
This world is such a world. And when I say world, I mean it. I don't mean it in an ideal sense. I mean it every day and every little thing you do. It's such a gimme, gimme, gimme. Everybody back up. You get taught that from school. Every business. You want to be successful? Gimme, gimme, gimme. Push, push. Step, step. Crush, crush. That's all it is. Nobody ever stops. There's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting the lotto for $36 million. And then we got people starving on the streets.
Yeah.
That is not idealistic. That's just real. I mean, that is stupid. There is no way. There's no way that these people should own planes when there's people that don't have houses. I think that if they earned it, that's good. I think that they deserve it. But even if they still own it, they still owe it. He's known for being very, very vocal about the state of the world and what it means to be black and successful, but still feel indebted to the communities that you started from.
I don't fit in. That's hell. It's hell when you can't be around your peers. All my life I grew up around black people, poor people, but I can't live around poor people now because they'll rob me. And why would they rob me? Because they're starving, because there's no money here. But they're telling me, now that I made a little money, I have to move here. So it's not like no one's ever trying to deal with this section. They're just moving away from it. And we got more stars coming from the ghetto, but they're gonna all move this way. All the society is doing is leeching off the ghetto. I don't want to be another I don't want to be 50 years old at a BET We Shall Overcome
leeching off the ghetto
achievement awards. You know what I'm saying? Not me.
Wait,
so people going through the struggle and who are actually having a hard time are going to become your greatest artists. So I think that is profound what Tupac is saying. Literally, you're taking people out of the ghetto and then they become superstars, but they leave the ghetto. So there's none of these superstars that are staying in these places that really brought them into the grind and hustle mentality that got them famous and got them so talented as well. And I think that's really interesting to say, because then if you go back to these places, you're going to get robbed if you're rich because they're so poor. So that's why he's saying people shouldn't be owning all these planes and stuff, because there's so many people that are just starving. And when you're starving, you do a lot of crazy things.
50-year-old BET award?
Yeah, exactly what Diddy received.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
Achievement awards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not me.
Wait, he mentioned 50-year-old BET award?
Yeah, exactly what Diddy received.
Whoa.
To the point where Tupac had a lot of people who did not like the way and the things that he spoke about. They said, yeah, we would rather him not speak, like the vice president at the time.
He's a revolutionary
And he would
mind.
say a lot of interesting things that I think ring true today. He would say things like, the government is the mob. Like, that's the mob. I want to read the books that Clinton is reading, because he does the same shit that we do, that I do, but he doesn't get in trouble for it. He says, I think this country still runs on gangs. Republicans, Democrats, the police department, the FBI, the CIA, those are gangs. Even the correctional officers, which, side note, Tupac, he comes from like a line of activists. His mother was a prominent activist. She was part of the Panther 21, part of the larger Black Panther Party. Tupac was speaking at Black Panther Party rallies since he was 17. He's also had quite a notable personal life as well. I think a lot of younger people might know this part of him more than the activist part of him, which is sad, but you get it. He's been romantically linked with Jada Pinkett Smith. I believe they've known each other since high school days. I don't know if they dated per se, but they were really close. Jada Pinkett Smith liked to call them soulmates, and it was a whole thing. Wow. By the time that they were ready to date, allegedly, she was already dating Will Smith.
I was going to say, hopefully Will Smith had nothing to do with this.
Talking about how he would never live up to Tupac.
Wow.
Because he's Tupac, and he's just the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Tupac was also linked to have dated Madonna briefly. The two of them kept it a secret. It was recently in the news because one of the breakup letters that he had written her before his passing, it went to auction for over $100,000, and it was this whole ordeal. Madonna tried to stop it. She's like, that's my private life. That's my romantic life. Yeah. Why is that letter going up for auction? Jeez. Who okayed this? Turns out her former personal assistant had gotten rid of a bunch of her stuff this was included in that stuff. The judge allowed the auction to go forward.
The assistant was selling her love letter?
I don't know if they were selling or if they had just gotten rid of some clutter in the house and thought that this was clutter. But it seems a little nefarious. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
No.
Now,
And that's just really interesting. And to bring it back to the mob being the government, that's so true, because a guy named Michael Francis, he got out of the mafia and was a very, very high-ranking guy and happened to get out. He found Christ and he somehow got out of the mafia, one of the only ones to do it that way, who was a real made man. And even he said everything the government's doing is exactly what the mafia is doing, the mobs, all these organized crime syndicates around the world, all the espionage and all that. So it's pretty crazy when you think of it.
I note in an interview from jail, Tupac had nothing but amazing things to say about Madonna. He did some not so nice things to her, said some not so nice things to her, because he felt like he was a big Black Panther type of guy, and she's white. Even though she's shown him nothing but love, he never felt like he could date a white woman. And he said that he felt really, really bad because once he went to jail, he called her. She was the only one of that level, of that stature, that was willing to help him.
Wow,
which,
really?
Shortly after prison, he would be the one to say, "My mama always used to tell me, if you can't find something to live for, then you best find something to die for."
It's very true.
And he would die shortly after prison at 25 years old.
Hit him up.
There have been allegations throughout the years to keep this theory, conspiracy theory, that he's still alive, if you will. People were reporting from all over the world. I saw him in New Mexico. I saw him in South Africa.
Oh, man.
And then Tupac's former bodyguard states, "I know the truth. The truth is, Tupac is alive and has escaped to Cuba." He states that Tupac has been smuggled into Cuba with the help of Fidel Castro himself. Which, side note, this is not a random connection. Tupac's aunt is a political activist that is living in Cuba right now as an American fugitive.
What?
So he does have connections.
What?
He says, "I have definitive an American fan." Tupac's aunt is a political activist that is living in Cuba right now as an American fugitive.
As an American fugitive.
So he does have connections. He says, "I have definitive proof. As his former bodyguard, I helped him fake his death. He's alive. He's in Cuba, and I'm going to show you that proof in a few days." I mean, this feels like the real deal. Surely, this is like his former security detail. This is not some random person on the internet that's like, "I saw Tupac when I was vacationing."
Yeah.
But right before he's going to release the evidence, he dies.
Wait, what?
He dies.
How?
Right before
Nobody
the
knows.
bodyguard dies.
And then
before
a year later,
Express.
he comes back from the dead and
No.
releases a YouTube video.
No.
He says, "My name's Michael Neese. I faked my death on the 18th of December.
What?
I'm here today, back from the dead, to show why and how I faked my death. I'm going to put the record straight. I confess I faked my death and I feel quite ashamed about it, but it had to be done, and I'm here to explain the reasons why." He argues that he had to fake his own death because he had to prove that he has the capabilities to help Tupac fake his death.
Oh.
What in the world?
Yeah, he
Really?
alleges that he has audio and video of Fidel Castro confirming that he sanctioned Tupac's move to Cuba.
What the heck?
But the evidence has still yet to be publicly presented. People are skeptical about his claims now, but it has fueled the conspiracy that Tupac is still alive and well.
I think y'all know me as a conspiracy enthusiast, and that's just probably because I'm just so gullible and want an awesome story to be there, and I'm sensationalist a bit, but that's just intense, and there's a lot of connections as to see why people could actually believe that Tupac might be still alive. And I didn't know all those Cuba connections, and even the guy, the bodyguard, faking his own death to prove he can fake deaths. Like, that's going pretty far, man.
And there's so many things to this theory. Yes, there's the reported sightings in New Jersey, Boston, Wall Street, LA, but there's also in his posthumous album that he did under Machiavelli, the lead single is called Hail Mary, which shows Tupac quite literally rising from the earth to murder all of his enemies. Now, the explanation here is he has all these unreleased music videos, these unreleased records that are now slowly getting released, but people thought it was weird. He's talking about rising from the earth to murder all of his enemies.
Yeah,
Also,
revenge is like the
the
sweetest
album
joy next to
Machiavelli
getting.
is a play on the word Machiavelli, the political philosopher. Apparently, he studied him extensively while he was in prison, and he was particularly a fan of the book The Prince, which some people have interpreted one of the lessons in there.
That's the
one
mafia's
of the
Bible.
strategies for general principles of deception by Machiavelli to be faking your own death to control and fool your enemies.
Yes.
Some people went as far to rearrange the letters in Machiavelli because he could have spelled it differently for copyright reasons, because Machiavelli and Machiavelli are
I totally
spelled
forgot in The
differently.
Prince it
But also,
does
what if
tell
it's
you
an
to fake your own
anagram
death.
For M,
Oh my God.
K. What does K mean? K is a friend of his named Casanova the Don, which he might want to reassure that he's alive.
Why was he in prison?
Oh, we'll get there. It's a very complicated issue. Side note, he actually releases a lot more music posthumously than he did when he was alive.
Yeah,
and
that's
in
very
one of the
true.
songs, you hear the lyrics, "Expect me like you expect Jesus to come back. I'm coming." People thought it was strange. Then in another song he sings, "I heard the rumors I died, murdered in cold blood, dramatized. Pictures of me in my final state. You know my mama cried, but that was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted."
Wow.
Furthermore, the way the unreleased songs, when they were released,
Here I am
they
getting
always
convinced,
sounded with
y'all.
the times. They always sounded modern, if you will. Now, some argue that's because the way they cut and pieced together, remastered the song to be with the times, but still.
But why would he be faking his own death for?
Because it's not just the rap world that was missing Tupac. He was on the FBI watch list for being a political activist.
Yeah, right.
And then it all comes full circle in 2024 when a book gets published alleging to be Kim Porter's memoir that we talked about in the previous episode about the horrors that she allegedly faced being Diddy's longtime girlfriend before she died. This supposed memoir is published on Amazon under the name Jamal T. Millwood, which is one of the many names that people believe Tupac is living under as his alias because he's still alive. Is the theory.
I'm a believer.
There are a few things that you should never do during a bail hearing. One of them is probably lashing out at the prosecutors.
Yes.
It's probably advantageous to not point at the prosecution team and say, these two dudes right here, they're not only ugly on the outside, they're ugly on the inside too. September 2023, a man named Dwayne Keffy D, that's his nickname,
Keffy
Davis,
D.
gets arrested for the murder of Tupac.
That's who Eminem was referring to in his lyrics?
Crips. Evidently, he likes to call himself the Compton Street Legend. That's also the title of his memoir.
You
Interesting.
say last year?
Last year, like decades later.
This guy got arrested for murder of Tupac.
Yes, for killing Tupac. Decades later, he gets arrested and he's pointing at the prosecution team, calling them ugly.
They're not only ugly on the outside, but they're ugly on the inside too.
You're like, what does this have to do with anything, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dwayne Keffy D, gets arrested, and just like the case in episode 1 of Jonathan Odie, after his arrest, he starts saying some very interesting things. He starts singing to the authorities, and honestly, he had been singing to the public, to the documentaries, in his own memoir for years, that perhaps a certain someone had put a hit out on Tupac. Worth 7 figures, $1 million. Kill Tupac, you get $1 million. Now you do the math. What kind of person has that kind of money to take down another person? The police don't have to guess because Keffy D tells them Sean Diddy Combs.
Wow.
He says Sean Diddy hired him?
Yeah.
Paid him $1 million to kill Tupac?
Well, that's the thing. He killed Tupac. Well, he wasn't the guy that pulled the trigger, but they did it. They killed Tupac. And Diddy still didn't pay him. And he's very upset about that.
And he's very upset still.
He says that he still, to this day, never received payment. And Diddy owes him big time.
Wow.
Now, this is very intriguing because this was just last year. He was arrested before all the allegations came forward about Diddy. Tupac was killed back in 1996.
It just feels like a movie script, doesn't it? Like, is everyone just really playing a part? Is this really the Truman Show that we're a part of right now? And we're just a stage? Like, they used to say, Shakespeare always would say we were tools of the gods, you know? And we were just there to put out emotions so they could have fun watching us. And sometimes I feel these elites are just playing us to see how we dance, and that's just part of their fun.
there any new evidence or supposed evidence linking Diddy to their murder? According to a new lawsuit filed October 15th, 2024, a few weeks ago. I don't know when you guys are seeing this. Ashley Parham, she's going public with her name, and Ashley said that she was sitting at a bar when this guy next to her named Shane calls Diddy on FaceTime. He FaceTimes Diddy. She said this was back in 2018.
Okay.
Now, this happened, according to her lawsuit, in 2018, but she is just now filing the lawsuit along with all the other victims.
Well, a lot of people come out now, right?
Yes.
And this is related to
Tupac.
Tupac.
Yes.
Okay.
He FaceTimes Diddy, and this is like around the height of the MGK and Eminem diss track, but I digress. The court docs are publicly available online. I'm telling you what she alleges in her document, but again, do your own research before you form an opinion. Everyone is innocent till proven guilty in the court of law. People have unfortunately lied before on court documents. I'm not saying that she's lying, but I'm also saying don't take it from me. Like, we have to see how it plays out in the court of law, legally speaking. The document alleges Ashley is sitting at the bar with Shane. Shane is trying to brag. He's trying to get those brownie points for FaceTiming Diddy, the Sean Combs. It's kind of icky, you know, the way he's allegedly trying to impress people by having a famous friend. Let's just say Ashley is not impressed. The initial ick of like, ugh, you're doing this right now? Calling your famous friend, but also it's Diddy. Ashley states out loud that she's not impressed, especially because she always believed Diddy had something to do with Tupac's murder.
While he's on?
Because there were rumors back then.
The FaceTime, you say
this
that?
Sean guy is just a random friend?
Shane.
Shane? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Random guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Diddy's still on the FaceTime, mind you, and he makes a passing remark that Ashley's going to pay for that comment.
I bet. I can't believe.
He hears her say, oh, I never really liked Diddy because I always thought Diddy was involved in Tupac's murder. And he's like, you're going to pay for that.
Oh, no.
Which, okay, I mean, how? The next month,
With
Ashley
your
gets a call
life,
from
potentially?
Shane, the guy from the bar. And he explains that he has cancer. Could you please come over because I'm having a hard time opening my medications. I'm in this weakened physical state.
Wow.
And yeah, she goes over because who's going to say no to that? She goes over, she opens his medications, helps him, and the two of them turn on a movie when out of nowhere, the main door to the apartment slams open, and allegedly, in comes Diddy, his bodyguard, and his chief of staff, the woman that has been compared to Ghislaine Maxwell in lawsuits and by netizens. The way Diddy walked in, as described in the lawsuit, was like ready to party. But it just feels maniacal, because nobody's trying to party with him. He allegedly gets into Ashley's face and starts taunting her. Oh, you never thought you were actually going to see me, did you?
Jeez, that's
in that
terrifying.
manner is how it's described. But she still has to pay for what she said about Tupac during the FaceTime, doesn't she?
Right.
Diddy allegedly grabs a knife, puts it up to Ashley's face, and threatens to give her a glass glow smile.
Oh,
retaliation for her for what she said about Tupac. She states that the chief of staff allegedly tells Diddy not to because then they can't sell her. She threatens her, the chief of staff, the AKA second Ghislaine Maxwell, that they could easily just ship her off anywhere into the world and they would never see her again. Her family would never see her. Nobody would ever know.
That's terrifying.
That's crazy. So this is a trap?
That's a way they... What the hell? So they... Oh, man, I don't know if it... Like, I'm not trying to say they do this every time, but it feels like for me, for the woman, how they get you is they just send you off as a sex trade and you go and do your sex work for them around the world, where the guys have to just get humiliated to go through sodomy and all that with these weird rituals too, and just get demasculined and lose their manhood and all that. But it's so sad for the woman there. Instantly, you're not going to die. It's worse. We're just going to send you away. No one's going to know where you are. And for the rest of your life, you're going to have to go through hell.
Beginning?
Yes. So
terrifying.
The call from Shane is allegedly, according to the lawsuit.
Don't like Christina.
What? She's not dating this guy either.
No.
She's just being nice to help him.
It seems like maybe they are forming like an acquaintanceship.
Wow.
She alleges that Diddy puts the knife down, takes off all her clothes, and starts squirting this oil liquid that he just takes out of his large fanny pack all over her. Weird. This is the very strange part. But allegedly, Diddy and his chief of staff spend a bit of time trying to insert an IUD into Ashley. Wow. Which, if you know, an IUD is like a copper metal T-shaped device that you stick into your cervix so that you don't get pregnant. Getting an IUD from a doctor is probably one of the most painful experiences that some people have ever had. To the point where there are conversations about why are there no anesthetics as an option for patients? I mean, it has to go into the uterus.
Yeah.
Some parents have stated it's worse than childbirth. One person said, my soul left my body. I saw a white flash of light. I'm not even being dramatic. It was the most painful thing ever. And these people are getting it done at medical facilities. And these people allegedly trying to stick an IUD into her have presumably no medical experience.
That is really
Eventually,
bad.
they stop. The chief of staff, along with another one of the entourage, they leave. But there's still 2 other of Diddy's entourage there. So it's Shane, Diddy, and 2 of Diddy's entourage. 4 guys there that she had never met other than Shane. She's naked, she's terrified, and allegedly Diddy grabs a TV remote from nearby and violently essays her with it. While he's doing that, he's allegedly scathingly telling her that her life is in his hands. He could do whatever he wants to her. He could take her so that she's never seen again. The lawsuit alleges that she was already in pain from the IUD assault when Diddy throws her over onto her stomach and allegedly instructs Shane. Again, these are all allegations you can find online. I wasn't there to tell you definitively if this is how it happened and if this happened. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but these are quite specific allegations. Now, Ashley states in the lawsuit that Diddy tells Shane to put a pillow over her head. He's sick of her hearing her crying. The next instruction is Diddy tells Shane to allegedly essay Ashley anally. She states it was gang essay. First Shane, then Diddy, then John Doe 2, and John Doe 1. She doesn't even know the names of these people that were gang essaying her. John Doe 1, before he even essays her, she said that he grabbed a bunch of baby oil, gets it all over her, and gets on top of her to use her like some sort of, quote, slip and slide. But due to how big his allegedly enormous stature was, the wind gets knocked out of Ashley. She noticed the whole time Diddy was recording the assault while self-pleasuring.
And recording it too.
She also notices someone's phone had fallen off near the bed. She tries to reach for it to call for help, but the massive amounts of baby oil everywhere, it slips out of her hands. To which the lawsuit alleges Diddy found this quite hilarious. He also kept commenting that he owned her now. Ashley, in her attempt to leave, somehow ends up in the backyard where they're all smoking. So after they're done, they just go to the backyard allegedly and smoke like nothing happened. Now, at this point, again, allegations, Diddy asks her in a very strange, probably even more terrifyingly friendly way, why haven't we partied together before? You're so much fun. I haven't had ass that tight in a while.
Man.
One of the guy allegedly laughs and states, yeah, because you only have anal with men.
Oh my God.
Which everyone laughs, but Ashley, she does not entertain them. She tells them this was not partying, this was rape. Diddy allegedly did not like that. He offers her money and tries to convince her that she's a worker and that this was consensual. Ashley allegedly loses it, telling him that she's not a worker and she's going to the police. He threatens her that her whole family is going to be harmed if she does anything like that. She states that at this point, Diddy calls someone and that person picks up a FaceTime and they're outside of Ashley's sister's home.
Whoa!
And then he allegedly does the most bizarre thing. He calls his own mom, Janice Combs, who allegedly starts yelling at Ashley that she's just like a worker, saying all these crazy things. She better not go to the police and hurt her son. But the craziest part is, a whole fight breaks out. One of the entourage essayers did not hear the comments that she had made about Tupac. And when she brought that up again, he pulls a gun out and points it at Diddy, allegedly.
What?
He's like, you killed Tupac?
Wait, she mentioned that right now in that?
Yes.
And then one of the guys just pulled a gun out on Diddy.
Yes. And Ashley alleges that she took the knife that she had been hiding to defend herself. Everyone starts running. A neighbor comes out to investigate. Shots are fired into the fence. Ashley grazes Diddy in the stomach with a knife. More shots are fired. Ashley and a neighbor are taking cover behind a car. They make it to shelter in another neighbor's house where they state they called the police. Ashley alleges that the sheriff came, but after taking her statement, they didn't call her an ambulance. They didn't take her to the hospital. They didn't even offer to help her to get her clothes or phone from Shane's residence.
Wow.
Eventually, Ashley goes home, unsure of what to do. She did spend the night at Shane's, which is a lot of thing that netizens have been pointing out. Like, if you were that scared, why did you stay? But of course, that's like a crazy question to ask, right? Now, eventually, Ashley goes home. She's unsure of what to do. The first call that she makes in regards to this appears to be a few days later. She calls her primary...
Okay, first of all, just incredible journalism again. What a intense scene. That's terrifying. I feel so bad for her if that is 100% true and even 80% true or whatever it is. Devastating. And what always sickens me is that it's always being filmed as well, and that's just another blackmail that they have. Terrifying that they can have someone at your family's residence as well, and that type of fear, I think itself is what keeps people in it as well. Maybe not the fear of your own death, but it's the fear of the death of the people around you, and that is what these sickos do to these women. And it's so sad that there's women accomplices with these men that are helping facilitate this. And I thought girls are supposed to be out there for the girls. It's pathetic. And then you get to see even Diddy's mom, who is literally on the phone telling her, no, you're just a sex worker now. Don't put my boy into prison. And it's just, it's devastating to see what, quote unquote, the love for your child, a motherly love can do. And I think that's why it's called Mother Nature, because it can sure be destructive.
That she makes in regards to this appears to be a few days later. She calls her primary care doctor asking for an HIV and STD test. She just didn't think anyone would believe her if she called the police, because they already called the police, according to her allegations, and they did nothing.
Fair enough.
Side note, I do see some netizens calling this story so intense that it almost feels over the top, right? But other netizens have been pointing to Lil Rod, which we covered his lawsuit in the last episode. He was a producer that worked with Sean Diddy Combs for his 2023 album, the Love album. And he talks about how he has a head of security that can make things go away because he has lots of connections to law enforcement. For example, we're going to talk about this in the next episode, but there was at one point in the recording studio, Diddy, Justin, and another guy allegedly, according to Lil Rod, get into a fight. Diddy, Justin, and the other guy go to the restroom. Justin Combs, his son.
Okay.
Yeah, Diddy's son. They go into a restroom, shots get fired, and the guy ends up shot in the stomach.
Wow.
Now, this actually did happen, but Diddy and Justin allegedly told everyone, hey, just tell everyone we were on the other side of the studio and we weren't there. We don't know who shot him. And they never got investigated for it.
What?
And Lil Rod is alleging that it's because his head of security has a lot of law enforcement connections. A lot.
Okay.
Who knows? I'm not saying those two things are related. I'm just saying these are what netizens are bringing up when people are saying, I don't know, this lawsuit sounds really over the top, right?
It
and
is
it's also
over the
so
top,
oddly
but
specific
can always
that
be
a lot of
correct
netizens
still.
are like, I mean, how do you make up such oddly specific things?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we saw
But
the
again,
book.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
The tell-all
She
book
states in
was
the
very
lawsuit
oddly
she
specific.
didn't call the police again because she already told the police, and now what? She just wants to get tested. And the crazy thing is she's just terrified. Her family is in danger. So days after the assault, she sees Shane, the guy that called her over, set her up, the guy from the bar, driving around in a new car. She believes that he got paid for that.
Wow. Is her identity out with the lawsuit?
She stated that she didn't want to hide her identity, which a lot of victims are hiding their identity, and I think it's totally understandable.
Yeah,
right?
whatever way
but
you go,
I think she
understandable.
just really wants people to see that
Take it
she's
seriously.
Yeah.
you know, definitely a lot of netizens are saying it adds more water to her claims.
More credibility, yes.
It's not until a few weeks later that Ashley presumably feels brave enough to go somewhere about it. She goes and does an SA kit at the hospital, ultrasound, x-rays. She lost a substantial amount of weight in the past few weeks because of the trauma.
Right.
The police are contacted once more at the hospital, but this time she doesn't name Diddy because she's scared. That's the part that makes her sound crazy. Like, oh, sure, yeah, an A-list billionaire did that to you? Sure. She names Shane. She says there's two other guys. She doesn't know their names. And she thinks in the lawsuit it's stated, she believes that the footage is likely somewhere on body cam footage for both police incidents. The day that it allegedly occurred and the day at the hospital.
Right.
Even the day of the incident, It must be somewhere, right? Now, the next month, May 2018, Ashley says that she seeks assistance from therapists. She tries to have her therapy appointments covered by victim compensation funds, but then she's told that there's no law enforcement agency with an active investigation into her report, meaning she can't get free therapy.
Wow.
Because there's no active investigation. She's not a victim. So she's like, wait, what?
They're still not looking into it?
The lawsuit states, quote, Ashley asked police for a copy of her report from the Walnut Creek Police Department on July 19th, 2018. Plaintiff, Ashley, was provided a letter from the police department stating that it was, quote, unable to furnish this information as it is confidential and not subject to public release.
What?
But she's not public. She's the victim.
She is the victim, yeah.
But they allegedly refuse her a copy of her own police report where
Wow.
she's the victim.
That's insane.
You can do that? I thought FOIA, even for publics, we can.
There's a few legal barriers. So they're saying that this is strictly confidential. So I would imagine that they're telling her, hey, you got to get signed off by all the parties involved to get this receipt, you know, which has happened before in cases.
Okay.
The Contra
It's good to know it's
Costa
happened
County
before.
Sheriff did make a statement that reads, a report was taken March 23rd, 2018. We take these cases seriously and detectives thoroughly investigated the accusations. It was later determined that the claims were unfounded.
Wow.
So they're just saying like, yeah, we did take reports, but they're not real.
Wow.
Like the claims were unfounded.
That's sad.
Now, just to reiterate,
Okay.
a civil lawsuit does not mean that this is the truth and that Diddy will be found guilty in the court system.
Yeah.
Some netizens state, bullshit, more gold diggers with these lawsuits. But most netizens, from what I could see, believe Ashley. They state all of that just because she said Diddy had something to do with Tupac's death. Now, that is absolute confirmation to me that yes, he is indeed guilty of Tupac's death. Another comments, this just doesn't stop getting worse.
It doesn't.
To which someone responds, oh, I'm just going to imagine they're going to get a lot more worse. Which it does appear to be that way because now with Tupac being brought up in association with Diddy, all of Diddy's past is seeing the light of day. And it's a lot. 33 years ago, Puff Daddy, at the time, aka Diddy, was going to host a fundraiser for AIDS at the New York City College, where you would just pay $20 to watch celebrities play basketball. Boys to Men, Run DMC,
Really?
Jodeci, Heavy D, Big Daddy Kane.
Interesting.
It was rumored that Mike Tyson was going to be there. This is a huge event. Nearly 5,000
I'd go
people
to
show
it.
up to the gym. The problem being, the maximum capacity in that gym is half of that.
Oh,
Less
no.
than half of that. And nobody knew how to turn away the crowd. Around 6 p.m., the crowd manages to break through the exterior doors, but there's another set of doors that you have to get through to get into the gymnasium.
Oh, no.
They break through
Oh,
the
no.
first exterior doors, and the crowd surges so much that they bend a lamppost near that door. And they
Wow.
just want to get in. They've been waiting here all day. What do you mean? Some of us have tickets. Some of us were told that you're still selling like half the tickets at the door. Why have we been standstill in the same spot in the line for like all day? 5 hours. They break through the exterior doors and they start running down the stairs. They just need to reach one more set of doors to get into the gymnasium.
Damn.
Once they get down, those doors are locked. So you have a bunch of people squishing into this downward stairwell.
That's not a
trying
good
to push
scene.
up against these doors that are locked. These are the doors that lead into the gymnasium. And there's people behind the stairwell trying to push into the stairwell
Oh
because they
my
don't
God.
know that the door is locked.
I-
Not only that,
Not good.
even if someone realizes what's going on and they walk over to the doors and they unlock the doors, you're not going to have people coming in because the doors have to be pushed into the group of people piled. It opens into the stairwell.
Oh, no.
It does not open into the gymnasium. It opens into the stairwell. But there's no room in the stairwell right now. Nobody at the top knows that. They're all pushing into each other. One person said, everyone was so close together, you felt you could not breathe because of the weight of people pressing on your back.
Oh, no.
Everyone's screaming at each other, get back, get back. People are not taking it seriously. And even the ones that are, they can't move
They
back
just can't
because
even
people are
move.
pushing into them.
Oh, man.
Finally, after
Frantic.
15 minutes, the doors to the gym almost basically pop off. Everyone starts spilling into the gym. The people who have been standing near the doors that have been getting squashed the most, now they're practically getting trampled on by the people behind them trying to get into the gym because they also can't breathe. In that moment, someone comes onto the intercom and tells them, the game is canceled because 3 people have died. You gotta leave.
inside the gym, are there people, a lot of people?
I would say that they alleged that it was at around 40% capacity at that point already.
Oh, inside the gym is still empty at this point.
Yes, but they couldn't let people in because how do you stop them from coming in? And then they're going to reach over capacity. So they never really unlocked those doors. They just waited till they popped off.
Wow.
Which then they come on the intercom and say, hey guys, 3 people died. Y'all need to go home, which ensues another round of pure panic because what do you mean 3 people died? How did they die? Some people know about the stairwell, some people don't. One person said people started running, people are pushing each other down, people on the bottom were getting trampled, people jumped off the bleachers and were crushing each other. People are trying to leave through the same door that people had just been crushed in minutes ago, trying to go up the stairs now to leave.
You could actually hear when somebody died.
No.
Because you would hear. And then you wouldn't hear anymore.
Oh no.
When the medics finally arrive, they said it was a state of chaos. One medic says, we had to break through the crowd when we reached downstairs. It's like an avalanche of people just trampling on top of each other. It was like a plane crash without a plane. I had a guy with a broken neck and I had to haul him over to the wall to avoid both of us being trampled on.
That's so
One
sad.
person at the event said, at one point there was a rush inside, and that's when you just saw bodies dropping. People were getting trampled. We were just chest to chest for hours. We could move a few steps an hour. That's it.
Wow.
Another woman at the event stated that before she left for the concert, she had put a tangerine in her pocket of her leather jacket.
Oh,
she had
no.
plans to eat it before, but she never got that chance. She said, when we finally got out of there, I reached into my pocket and there was nothing left but the skin of the tangerine. It stained my lovely jacket, and I kept that jacket as a reminder for years.
No kidding, eh?
9 people died.
What a symbol.
And 29 people were injured that night.
Wow.
The 9 people that passed, according to the chief medical examiner at the time, the victims were 15 to 28 years old and had died from being asphyxiated. They were, quote, squeezed from the front to the back.
Jeez.
There was no criminal trial, but Diddy was later asked to explain himself. And he states he knew something was wrong when, quote, as it started getting dark, we had to shut the doors because the line got so disorganized out in the front. He states that eventually the police came in through the back door, and he was telling them, look, there's way too many people out there, we need help. But according to Diddy, the police just leave.
What?
They don't come back until an hour later, which is already too late. Everybody's piled in the stairwell trying to get in. He says it was just an impossible situation. There was no way for them to be allowed in. There was already 40% capacity inside the gym. And yeah, you could let in a few more people, but it was chaos. He claims anybody who got caught outside with tickets, we were going to refund their money. We just didn't want to take the chances by opening the doors back up. But people start pushing from the outside and the doors just popped, snapped off the hinges, and people just start pouring in. They tore the doors right off the hinges. People started jumping down the staircase. People started piling up on top of each other, and glass started breaking and the doors, and people were getting scared and running, just pushing and
It's like
pushing.
Woodstock
and
99 here.
Then all of a sudden, I'm on the other side of the door, pulling people through into the gym so that we could open some of the other doors. But even as we started pulling people in, more people were pushing through. We started screaming, get back, to back up. And like a few minutes later, we saw people passing out because the heat. We started seeing some scary shit. People's eyes were going back in their heads, and I'm thinking people could die out here. A big kid had gotten stuck in the door and we couldn't pull him through, or anybody else. The cops were being called, but nobody was coming, and I could just feel it. I was thinking some of these people were dying or dead. People had started regurgitating. Nobody was trying to mouth-to-mouth resuscitation,
damn.
so I started, and other people started. One guy that I knew, we were trying to revive him for like 45 minutes. He was throwing up in my mouth, but I didn't care. We were like, yo, man, you gotta live. We were pumping his chest and breathing into him, and I'm seeing my girlfriend bugging out because her best friend's there not breathing, and I'm trying to give her mouth to mouth, and I started to feel this feeling in the breath I'm getting back, that people were dead. I could feel the death going into me.
What?
What a weird...
So he's the organizer.
Yes.
Of this event.
And he hired a bunch of associates who had no expertise. So there's a lot of people at fault. Diddy was definitely one of them. According to a judge, but the college was one of them for not having adequate safety measures. The police were also blamed for not having enough police detail at an event like this. But Diddy was also blamed for the fact that he wanted the biggest event in town, is what a lot of people believe. The ego got the better of him. He hired a bunch of People who have never, ever organized an event of this size, of this caliber, with all these names. Like, imagine you're like, I'm going to go see all the top A-list celebrities at a celebrity basketball game for $20 at my local college.
We're all going.
Think about that.
Yeah.
He says, later I went home and I just kept saying to myself that it was all a bad dream, that I was going to wake up, but I never woke up. I never woke up. And the next day we contacted the police and the mayor's office, but people just looked at the flyer and saw my name and Heavy D's name and started blaming everybody. People saying whoever threw the event must have f***ed up. Press started drawing conclusions before the actual investigation. Which a few witnesses state, really now, Diddy? Because they don't recall any of that. One woman who thankfully made it out alive, she said she actually saw Diddy that night. She alleges he walked right past me after there was that big rush inside the gym. He didn't seem concerned about what was going on. He just wanted to get his stuff and get out of there. I never got the sense of remorse or accountability. Just like, let me get my stuff and get out.
Wait, what? How is he walking if there's so many people?
So it's mainly people stuck in that stairwell. Just stuck. They can't, even with the doors, it's hard to pull them out. Because the doors were like popping out. They weren't all the way open.
Okay, so everyone's jammed in this little stairwell, and he's like outside and just walking by.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna go home.
Allegedly. I'm gonna leave here.
Yeah,
now.
I'm gonna leave.
Whoa.
In fact, later in a 1993 cover for Vibe titled Puff Daddy, this is not a Puff piece. And I was just so confused. I didn't even know if this was real. It's real. He says, it wasn't the tickets that oversold, like people said. It wasn't the fire department's fault or the cops. It was just that overall, the Black community, there's a lack of self-love. The majority of these kids weren't necessarily going to put themselves in a situation they get hurt, but when it comes to loving their neighbors and moving back, they couldn't love their neighbors because they didn't love themselves.
Wow.
No way.
Which is absolutely one of the most unhinged ways I've ever heard someone describe a literal stampede, a literal surge, a crowd surge. That's not how physics works. And also, what the f are you saying?
No kidding,
When was
right?
the stampede happen? Do you remember what year was it?
Oh.
You said 33 years ago?
Yeah, like early 90s.
Oh, wow.
This piece was,
91?
like, years later.
At the end
Yeah,
of
so
91?
he had time to reflect. There's a lot of even further allegations that I don't know if I can have an opinion about, but I'm going to tell you exactly what was said online and like the discourse that's circulating.
Right, okay.
So later it said that Diddy was all about...
1 second, y'all just gonna let my cat in, and in case the cat comes in and wants to say hi, y'all can say it too. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. There he is. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey, buddies. How's it going? This is Pebbles, everyone. Hey, man. How you doing, buddy? Okay. Loving this so far. This one is just blowing by. We're almost halfway through already. If you're having a great time, please hit the like button as well. If you've learned anything new just from checking it out again, maybe from a different perspective, let us know in the comments as well what you're thinking. Really appreciate it, everyone.
Uplifting the Black community. That's what he spoke heavily about, especially in 2023 when he changed his name to Brother Love. He was all about the Black community.
Brother Love.
And people that knew him, some sources, like a former bodyguard, allege he's just taken the cards out of Tupac. Like, he wants to be Tupac. Tupac was all about uplifting Black people, but also at the same time, it's like, this is what Diddy said 33 years ago. So I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he says things that he thinks people will like to hear.
Yeah.
Seems
The
like
judge
it.
ruled that Diddy was partly responsible. He will not be facing criminal charges, but could be, in fact, held liable in damages in a civil court.
Right.
Which, side note, he just settled the last lawsuit pertaining to this matter in 2000. So we
Really?
don't know because most of them were undisclosed settlements,
Took
but he's been
9
paying
years.
settlements throughout the years. The judge said, it does not take an Einstein to know that young people attending a rap concert camouflaged as a celebrity basketball game who have paid as much as $20 a ticket would not be very happy and easy to control if they were not allowed in, if they were unable to gain admission. A lot of people believe that it's just Diddy's inflated ego happening all over again. Now, side note, remember how this is allegedly an AIDS fundraiser? They promoted the event stating that it was going to help AIDS educational outreach program.
Yeah.
It's a questionable organization that is not a registered charity and is not known amongst anti-AIDS groups. So,
Really?
and anti-AIDS groups meaning like they're trying
to take AIDS down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many attorneys representing the victims said there was ample time to suspend the event, shut it down to prevent a tragedy. That decision was not made. Another victim's mother said all they really wanted from Diddy, because he was young at that point, was an apology. That's it.
Right.
He allegedly resisted all accountability. The mother says, I want Sean to step up to the plate and say, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. That's all she wanted. Now, to be fair, he does offer an apology. You can be the judge of how remorseful he sounds. He says, I'm sorry for being the promoter of the event. I just pray for the families and pray for the children who lost their lives every day. You know, it's a tragic event and my heart goes out to the families. The families did not find him to be truthful. They said, I feel like he's just passing the blame instead of accepting responsibility. He's trying to cover for himself.
Yeah.
He also states, City College is something I deal with every day of my life. But the things that I deal with can in no way measure up to the pain that the families deal with. One journalist who worked on the coverage of the college incident, they remember thinking, Puffy? Who the hell is Puffy? Who's this guy named Puffy Daddy? Puff Daddy? The event coordinator? He's a hip hop producer? That's all they know about him so far, the journalists. They remember thinking, man, this Puffy guy can't have much of a future after this, huh?
Oh, are you saying like he wasn't that big back then?
Yeah, so all the celebrities like Heavy D, Run DMC, they were huge.
Mm-hmm.
But Puffy, like I said, he's not really a musician. He's like a producer.
Exactly.
He's just a behind the scenes guy.
Oh.
And it says organized by Puff Daddy. So the reporters are like, who the hell is Puff Daddy? Well, Puff Daddy's not going to have a future in this industry anymore. 2 years later, Puff Daddy would start his own record label, Bad Boy Records.
Wow.
Within 4 years of opening, the label sold nearly $100 million worth of records. People said there's just something about Diddy. He just has this way of being able to convince people that whatever he's doing or wherever he is, that's where you want to be. That is the hot shit. He is a master marketer.
Yeah,
I mean, that
he sure
is, you have to give him that. Like, just to give you a quick example, he was working on promoting two of his artists, B.I.G, and Mac. But he has to give a bunch of journalists their music to sample because this was before streaming. So he has to give them CDs, mixtapes. He has to give them photos if they want to reprint him in magazines. He has to provide original copies of photos.
I like that.
So he created this Big Mac sampler. It looked like the McDonald's Big Mac packaging.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he would put in all their mixtapes and he would call it the Big Mac.
I like that, actually. That's really,
before PR
really
packages
cool.
really existed.
I love that.
It's very creative.
See, and now that I'm on that side as part of the journalists where the bands connect with to do interviews, to do reviews on their albums and their songs, if someone handed me a Big Mac for the Mac artist you're about to see, like, oh my God, that experience would be so cool to kind of show the opening of the burger box, and then you got all the mixtapes in there too. That is master marketing if I've ever seen it, and would love to do something like that.
Someone who worked really closely with him once said, Puff was my young warrior. I could send him into the jungle and he would bring back the lion's head every single time.
Wow.
The company sold over 500 million records, produced over 38 platinum albums, and won multiple Grammy Awards. That is Bad Boy Records. And it would be the start of the alleged boiled egg test.
Boiled egg test. What is this?
Some of my favorite wholesome videos to watch online are the ones where
again.
people who speak multiple languages but don't look like it will randomly break out into full sentences, surprising everyone around them. And almost always the unsuspecting native speakers in the videos are shocked, but also happy, elated even, because learning a language is so much more than just communicating. It shows that there's a deep interest in the person's culture and heritage. I've been learning Chinese from my husband's side of the family, and actually I was talking with a friend and suggested, totally unprompted, that they should surprise their grandma for the holidays by learning her native language using Rosetta Stone. She just started practicing and is hoping to surprise her Nana by holding a full conversation in French by Christmas time.
Wow.
With Rosetta Stone, this is a fun little holiday gift that you can give as well. Whether you're surprising a loved one with your own abilities or gifting a membership, brushing up on a past language,
of it as a gift
or
for
even
someone.
starting from scratch, Rosetta Stone Stone is the most trusted language learning program available on desktop or as an app. It truly immerses you in the language that you want to learn, but most importantly, Rosetta Stone encourages fast language learning through an intuitive process designed for long-term retention. The built-in True Accent feature gives you feedback on your pronunciation, which is basically a personal trainer for your accent. Because for 30 years, Rosetta Stone has been the most trusted language learning platform with millions of users worldwide. And don't worry, if French is not your thing, they have 25 different languages to choose from.
You know what? I'm making a decision now moving forward with my Rotten Mango. She is incredible at her plugs here, but I know a lot of you probably have already seen this already. So you've already seen her plug for like the Rosetta Stone and the other sponsors she gets. So I'm actually just going to skip them for the video portion of this. And I know you all would probably be happy for continuity's sakes anyways.
In a recent interview with Chris Cuomo, someone very, very familiar to Diddy was being interviewed by Chris. He would tell Chris Cuomo they used the boiled egg test. They used to take a raw boiled egg, had the guys pull their pants down at the studio, had them bend over, and then stick it up their bottoms.
What?
If the eggs break, that means they're not ready. They said they didn't put in enough work because this is Hollywood.
What?
That means they're still not loose enough in the back door. And that means they didn't put in enough work in Hollywood.
Gosh.
Because the back door needs to be used. Yeah, this is a crazy allegation.
Yeah.
What a crazy
But you have
allegation.
to take the whole story with a grain of salt because first of all, the claims, like I said, are allegations. They're unverified. No. Additionally, it's being said by a man named Suge Knight, Diddy's longtime rival and competitor.
Oh my god. Oh, if y'all think what Cat Williams was saying with Shannon Sharp sounds too salacious with protecting that little virgin hole of yours for Hollywood, the boiled egg test is another example of stuff they potentially are doing that these rumors really probably are pretty true. There wouldn't be this many rumors if there wasn't this type of stuff going on. And again, I'm not here to question your sexuality or anything like that, but sticking an egg up your butt to make sure you've done enough work in Hollywood, that is a whole different level for me. That is just it's disgusting for me. I'm sorry, y'all.
The founder of Death Row Records in California. Well, he's one of the founders. Death Row Records, at its prime, was making over $100 million per year. Bad Boy Records, we don't know exact numbers, but they're doing $100 million in record sales for 4 years. Death Row Records, $100 million per year.
Wow.
Are they still around or no?
No, Snoop Dogg just rebought it because he was signed with Death Row Records. He was one of the most notable artists. So he's trying to revive it, but it did eventually go bankrupt, I believe. They had some of the biggest talent signed onto their label at their prime. They had Dr. Dre, who was a co-founder, but also releasing and producing his own music. Snoop Dogg, MC Hammer, Outlawz, and eventually they would go on to sign Tupac while he's in prison. But we'll get there. Tupac was Suge's biggest talent. I mean, not just in terms of size, but in terms of potential. It is well known that Tupac was a poetic genius. He was literally into poetry. He took poetry classes. He would write poetry for Jada Pinkett Smith, and then she would retell it on Instagram. It was like a whole thing. Tupac is a different breed.
Dear Mama by Tupac.
One of his most well-known songs, Change. The lyrics read, "I'm tired of being poor, and even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a purse to snatch. Cops give a damn about a pull the trigger, kill a, he's a hero. Give the crack to the kids, who the hell cares? One less hungry mouth on welfare. First ship them dope and let them deal to brothers. Give them guns, step back and watch them kill each other." He would say in an interview, if the church was taking half the money they were making and gave it back to the communities, we would be all right. If the church take half the buildings they use to praise God and gave it to the motherfuckers who need God, we would be all right. Have you seen some of the churches lately? There's ones that take up a whole block in New York. There's homeless people out here. Why do some of these buildings have gold ceilings?
I'm with you
Why
there.
does God need gold ceilings to talk to me?
He doesn't.
Side note, Tupac clarifies he believes in God. He just doesn't agree with some of the organized religions where the heads of the communities hoard the wealth in this tax-free haven and don't give
This is why Jesus says not to worship God in a building. That's what Tupac is saying right here. Why are all these massive buildings that are like a straight long for these massive crazy churches, mega churches, while there's so many homeless people out here who literally need a place to stay, and you could be housing all these people in all these churches? Like, I'm totally with them too, and I obviously believe in God as well. But when people ask me what denomination I am, I'm like, what? You want me to tell you what mega church I'm from? Like, come on, y'all. There's only one mediator to God.
Give it back to the communities.
It's not a person.
He says, just because I don't have nothing to pass around, a bucket for people to put money in, doesn't mean that I'm not doing God's work. These underserved kids ain't God's children. I don't see no missionaries coming through here.
We all are.
He says, well, some reverends go to the middle class areas, get invited to dinners at the White House to pray over the president. Just because he's not doing that doesn't mean he's not doing God's work. He states, I'm not saying that I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee you that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job. Cool. It's to spark somebody else watching us.
Wow.
Which, side note,
what an artist.
Tupac was a very complicated person. I think some people, when they just hear, oh, he's an activist, he stands for these things, they want him to be this perfect person. But there are songs where he does rap and maybe in some people's opinion, yeah, to a degree, I would say, he does promote violence in some songs. And people don't understand how you can be dual faceted and come from this very complicated background. And Tupac himself was so self-aware. He says, quote, I'm missing some lessons. You can see the lessons that I'm missing when you talk to me. You can see where I haven't had a father when you talk to me. You can see where I spent a lot of my time in the streets when you talk to me. Because the words that I say aren't the words that come from a mother's mouth or a father's mouth. It's the words that come from a pimp's mouth or a sex worker's mouth or a hustler or a drug dealer. But to me, those were my role models.
Right.
Which obviously, if you want, you can spin it as, look, this guy is looking up to pimps and drug dealers. But it's so much more of a deeper message. It's a message of like young people in these marginalized communities. That's the only education they get.
I totally understand what he's
complicated,
saying here.
Deeply tied to historical reasons. The Black nuclear family unit was ripped apart. Not by Black people, many times intentionally by society to keep them down socioeconomically.
That's sad.
But also, what other choice do these young kids have? It's not like the rich areas are just going to open up their arms. Yes, come to our school. We'll teach you. Mm-hmm. He's not saying he looked up to pimps because that's what he wants to be. So it's like there are a lot of complicated emotions in his music. Mm-hmm. Now, if Tupac represents the West Coast, the East Coast equivalent would be Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. Biggie Smalls,
right.
a.k.a. Notorious B.I.G. He was born the only child of a single Jamaican mom.
Oh, wow.
He actually got his start freestyling in the streets of Brooklyn.
Cool.
But obviously, that's not making a ton of money, so he did deal drugs on the side. He did go to jail for 9 months on a weapons charge. And when he gets off, he's like, you know what? I don't like prison at all. That was not a good experience. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make music. He actually gets discovered, if you will, by Diddy. This is when Diddy didn't have his own record label. He's working with Uptown Records, remember?
Okay. With
Before
Uptown,
the Bad
right.
Boy.
Yes, this is where he meets Kim Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's working at Uptown Records.
Right.
All the other executives, they freaking hate him. And Biggie gets signed with Uptown Records. And eventually he leaves Uptown to go with Bad Boy Records with Diddy. Diddy would say about Biggie, I mean, he just had so much melody in his voice. It was like he was rapping, but it was so catchy. It was almost like he was singing, and he was such a clever poet. The way he put his words together, the way he saw things, he saw things so vivid. If you sat and listened to a Biggie Smalls record in the dark, you would see a whole movie in front of you. Yep. And the most amazing thing is, Biggie never wrote down his lyrics. He'd sit and compose them in his head.
Really?
Even one of his very first singles, it said that he recorded the entire track in one take.
No
To give you
way.
context, some professional artists can take 20, sometimes 100, sometimes more, depending on how they're perfecting or improving. But one take is still insane.
It's incredible.
One person that they stated always does one takes is Bruno Mars.
Really?
Like, one take is kind of crazy. Now, for the sake of being
Bruno
thorough,
Mars doing one
Biggie
take.
does have a very complicated personal life. Little Kim was also an icon in her own right.
Yes, she was.
She was signed with Bad Boy Records.
Wait, I missed that part of it.
Biggie does have a very complicated personal life. Little Kim was also an icon in her own right. She was signed with Bad Boy Records. She was having an affair with Biggie. So Biggie eventually marries a woman named Faith Evans, famous
Faith
singer,
Evans, right? Yeah.
having an affair with Lil Kim. It has been stated that he was very violent towards her in the relationship.
no.
Very violent.
Little Kim?
Yes. And potentially Faith Evans. And potentially any woman that he dated, right?
No,
Tupac did serve 9 months in prison for first-degree sexual abuse. He was charged with, which is the more serious charge, but he was acquitted of the more serious charges and just found guilty of sexual abuse, which is not me trying to downplay it.
No.
But there is more discourse about Tupac's personal life.
Why is that so?
With Biggie's personal life, it seems like nobody really refutes the idea that he was violent with women. With Tupac's personal life, a lot of people think because of the time and because of how outspoken he was about racial inequalities.
Okay.
And the fact that his parents and his aunt were all Black Panthers, and the fact that he was already on the FBI watch list, a lot of people know that back in that time, there would be false convictions toward those people just to put them away, just to taint their image. Now, I'm not saying that that's true in this case. I'm just saying it has happened before during that time.
That's what my gut says.
So a lot of people have
What
a
does
hard
yours
time.
say?
Who to trust, right?
Yes.
What do we really know? Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because it's always believe the victims, right? But I think it just gets really complicated in this case. And again, I don't have that much information about this specific case of SA here, but there's just a lot of discourse and it would be difficult to not include that. A lot of netizens have argued that Tupac was set up for the charge. They state that Tupac was already under FBI surveillance and he was very politically outspoken.
You're maintaining your innocence.
Because I'm loud. I didn't shut up. But I didn't think they was going to take it this serious. Me keep talking out. I didn't think it was going to be a matter of life and death.
He also maintained his claim of innocence, and previously he has only spoken highly of women in interviews. And most of the women that have known him, they've only spoken highly of how much he was a gentleman.
No kidding.
He wrote a lot of songs for his mom. Like, it seems like he grew up with a lot of powerful women in his life.
His songs.
So some people say it just doesn't make sense. Again, I'm not agreeing with them or saying you should agree, but these are what the netizen discourse is. There was alleged evidence that could prove Tupac's innocence, but it was conveniently, quote unquote, lost by the prosecution, which of course only fueled the theories that he did not commit any sort of abuse.
No doubt.
Now, do your own research. I'm just giving you a brief overview. The victim has still been outspoken of how this did happen to her.
Okay.
It's very complicated. It's very messy. And a lot of netizens have a lot of intense feelings about that case. So do your own research. Many believe, oh, for sure, Tupac and Biggie, they must hate each other because they're competition. East Coast, West Coast, they hate each other.
I didn't think they did.
They were actually friends.
Yeah.
In fact, when they first started hanging out, Tupac was a little bit more famous than Biggie. He was further along in his career, but they had both respected each other's musicality. And Tupac is not the one to feel like, I should be the only famous one. He would actually help Biggie out.
Good.
Biggie would crash on his couch when he was doing shows in LA.
Yeah,
he would invite Biggie out to freestyle on stage together, which is a big deal because you're sharing your audience with him, right? And eventually, Tupac would even form a group called Thug Life, which he has tattooed on his stomach. He wanted Biggie to join. Biggie was like, I'm good. But again, they're still friendly about it. Diddy says Biggie loved Tupac to death. Tupac helped Biggie out when we were just getting off the ground. He would come and let us open his shows. A lot of people say Diddy was the third wheel in the relationship. Yeah, people said Diddy was fascinated by Tupac. He was fascinated with Biggie, but to him it seemed like Biggie was more of a money-making machine. This is his biggest artist on the label, and he's going to make him big so he can make money. But with Tupac, the way that it said that he was able to, quote, marry street credibility with mainstream appeal.
Yes.
Like, he's just a very multifaceted person. Like, people would never say, oh, he's not tough. But also he stands and he's very open about his sensitivity, and he even talks about bringing out his feminine side. And so it's like just so multifaceted, and a lot of mainstream audiences liked him, which at this point hip hop was not really mainstream like it is today. So Diddy is like, I am just fascinated by this man. He would get his team to study Tupac's records, and honestly it seems from insider reports that Diddy wanted to be besties with Tupac. According to Diddy's former bodyguard, Tupac was known for wearing Versace shirts. Then Diddy goes and wears Versace shirts, which fine. He's like, some dudes would do that. But beyond that, Gene Deal alleges Diddy would do this bizarre thing where he would try to find all the women that Tupac had been intimate with and try to be intimate with those same women.
Weird.
It's been analyzed. If true, this would be a really complex psychological situation.
Yeah.
Probably psychological mimicry by having the same
Yes.
partners. Diddy might be trying to emulate Tupac in some way, trying to be him. There's also something called retroactive jealousy, which means instead of being fixated on the romantic partners, on your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Their sexual past, you're fixated on a competitor's romantic past.
Interesting.
Which is, it's like a thing. It's weird. And there's a sense
Weird.
of validation seeking. Okay, if these women are willing to sleep with Tupac,
Yeah, well,
then they're willing to sleep with me, then I must be on the same level as Tupac,
Okay.
is the idea.
I can get
Side
that
note,
ego.
Sarah Chapman, the mother of one of his children, one of Diddy's children, was actually a girlfriend of Tupac's, allegedly.
Okay, there you go.
That is weird.
And allegedly, Kim Porter was a huge fan of Tupac. She actually wore a Tupac shirt on the red carpet with Diddy.
Oh, man.
This is after Tupac's passing.
Oh, way,
way
after.
after.
This was like before her passing, like in the 2010s. Yeah.
That is weird too.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very strange. Some would say that Diddy was just obsessed with Tupac in every way possible, in a very
Damn.
creepy way.
Very
but
creepy.
the feeling was not mutual. In fact,
Really?
quote, according to an insider, Pac did not have any kind of respect for Puff. To all of them, Puff was just a corny executive.
Really?
I guess they had this mutual respect for one another until Tupac gets shot.
Until
5
Tupac got
times.
shot. Yeah.
Tupac is in New York City when he gets a call to come work on a song in a recording studio.
Interesting.
When he gets there with
I'm just going to take 2 seconds here, y'all. I really appreciate the love. Just got to relieve myself. Okay, we got an hour left to go, y'all.
City, when he gets a call to come work on a song in a recording studio. When he gets there with his entourage, he's got a whole group of people, he has a bodyguard, he sees people waving to him from the balcony from one of the rooms on top of the building. So he's about to walk into the lobby. He looks up and there's people on the balcony, Bad Boy Records artists. They're
Right.
like, hey, come, stop by. Tupac gets inside. He's waiting for the elevator to take him up. It's a dead end. You know, it's like a small little studio. The only way out of the building now is through where he came from.
Right.
But before he can step into the elevator, 2 gunmen approach demanding everyone to get down.
Really?
Everyone gets down except Tupac. He said that he wasn't even trying to be
Except
tough. He just froze.
Tupac.
Okay. Everybody gets down but him. In fact,
Really?
he's confused why everybody's getting down. Like, he's frozen.
Oh,
the gunman
wow.
keeps screaming at him, give up your jewelry. About $40,000 in jewelry. Tupac, some say he's not having it. Some say he was frozen in shock. It's unclear.
Right.
But they end up shooting him in the groin.
Wow.
Then in the hand, twice in the head. The bullet does not penetrate his skull. Biggie, Diddy, and a few other bad boy artists had been there working on their upcoming album called Conspiracy.
Wow.
So he goes up afterwards because the police show up and the police hate him. He's been very anti-police.
Right.
And he's a very famous figure. So police and Tupac don't go well.
So those 5 shots though, are they trying to kill him? Like you say, there's 2 to the head and hand and.
It's unclear. Technically, it was supposed to just be a robbery.
But the shots to the head, that is
They were also like kicking him. It feels like there was a lot of hatred there.
right. And they must know who he is too.
Oh yeah. And it was all planned because he arrives, he gets shot. It's all planned, right?
That's
My
insane.
recollection of the story was I was shooting a video, the second half of Warning. So I saw him saying what's up to me, I'm about to get on the elevator, and he comes out shot.
The shooting was carried out
Ain't that a
by
coincidence
someone that he
conspiracy?
is having trouble with. A former friend of his under associate decided to come at Tupac. But the problem is the Bad Boy Records artists were there. And Tupac felt like if something were to happen to Biggie in the West Coast, Tupac would know about it. He would get word. Like if someone is planning on robbing Biggie, Tupac would know. That's how small it is. The world
Right.
is, this hip hop world. And they're that
see.
big. They're on top of the game, right?
Right.
He's saying, how am I in New York getting robbed, getting shot? Bad Boy is in the same building, and you're
Yep.
telling me not a single one of them knew that this was about to go down?
Yeah, that's
Right,
ridiculous.
Like
and
they
they're
must
telling him
have
to holler
their
in.
own security details or just
Jeez.
Yes.
their own members around to make sure they're safe even.
Yes.
So how do you not know there's people like ready to do this in the same building?
On
Yep.
top of that, the guy that actually was involved in the incident, the alleged gunman, he was seen in Notorious B.I.G's music videos later. So it's like, not only did you kind of know, but like you probably still hung out with these people afterwards, which is just weird.
Yeah.
Now, some people think that Tupac was being over dramatic and that maybe Biggie didn't know. I will say, I don't know if Biggie knew. Most people say that Biggie didn't know. Most people say that Diddy knew, though. Biggie genuinely liked Tupac, is the vibe that people are saying.
You'd hope so.
But he sees
Unless he
Biggie
got
and he feels like
changed.
Biggie is involved. After the shooting, Tupac gets sentenced for the SA charge. Which, side note, after the shooting, Tupac gets sentenced
After the
for
shooting,
SA
too,
charge.
he
Which,
gets-
side note, after the
Wow.
shooting, the two were on weird terms, Tupac and Biggie.
You
Some
think?
people would say, no, Biggie ran into the lobby with his gun to try and defend Tupac earlier.
Really?
Like, it was crazy. Others would allege Biggie knew, but he didn't know what to do. Others confirm, I don't know about Biggie, but Diddy knew. Like, he was nodding, like he knew what was going on. Regardless, after healing from his wounds, I don't think
What do
Tupac
y'all
had a lot of
think?
time to confront Biggie or even think about Biggie because his SA trial is going on in New York City. He even leaves the hospital against the advice of doctors to attend court. Ultimately, he does get convicted and is sentenced. Now, this is where it gets very, very messy. And what feels like the very, very soon after Tupac's sentencing, Biggie drops a song called Who Shot Ya? Some notable lyrics include East Coast motherfuckers, bad boy motherfuckers, who shot you? Separate the weak from the obsolete, hard to creep them Brooklyn streets. Fuck all that bickering beef, one false move gets Swiss cheesed up. Fucking with B.I.G. it ain't
Putting
safe.
holes
Big
in ya.
Papa smash fools, bash fools, everything around me, 2 Glock 9s.
Wow.
There's another line where he says, you rewind this, bad boys behind this, get high motherfuckers, ready to die motherfuckers. You'll die slow but calm. Open your fucking mouth, didn't I tell you, don't fuck with me? Which, like, why the hell would Biggie release that if he had nothing to do with Tupac's shooting and had no bad feelings towards him? According to Gene Deal, Diddy's bodyguard at the time, he believes that wasn't Biggie's choice. He's not the record label owner. He's an artist. He doesn't get a say. He says this song was produced for a previous album and they took it down because it was just way too violent. And Diddy thought that's the perfect time to release it. It's going to get so much attention, so many plays. This is from Gene Deal's perspective, allegedly, right? It's gonna bring in so much money because it's starting this beef. Of course, I mean, look at what happened with Drake and Kendrick Lamar recently. Beef sells tapes.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
You
He's
get
such an
Grammys for it.
opportunist, too.
Yes. This would be the misunderstanding that starts everything. Because Tupac
Right.
didn't hate Biggie when he went to jail.
No.
He just felt like it was weird. He felt like Biggie
The
must have known about it.
association,
It was
right?
weird, right?
Yeah.
Now, Tupac is in prison. He hears from everyone. Biggie just released this track. He admitted that he shot you and was now like teasing you while you're in prison.
Jeez.
In fact, while he's in prison, Biggie is out there bragging about all of it. These records and all this. It's crazy. This is what Tupac is being told. Naturally, Tupac feels betrayed. And while Tupac is in prison, Biggie takes over the hip hop world.
Yeah.
Now, this is where
Yeah.
things get interesting. He's in prison for like 1.5 years, by the way.
It's like the
Some
Rock
people
and
think
Stone
that
Cold
Biggie
level.
had nothing
these
to
two.
do with the shooting, and again, had no idea that this song was going to go out, or he kind of greenlit it, not thinking it was going to be a big deal. However, it is not just the artists that are fighting. It's not just Tupac and Biggie that are fighting. Suge Knight, the owner of Death Row Records, that Tupac gets signed to in prison. So he's not signed with Suge Knight yet. He's signed with Interscope Records
Right.
from earlier that MGK was signed with. Now, Suge wanted someone to compete with Biggie, and it had to be Tupac. He doesn't know anybody else. He's saying that Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, they're so talented, but there's something about, some people just have that musicality. They have that lyricism. It comes to them so naturally. Suge mainly does this because he likes money, let's be real. He likes his business and he wants to take over Bad Boy Records. He wants Death Row to be a monopoly. He's thinking of starting a Death Row East Coast to take over that side. And he might have a vendetta against Diddy as well. He says that he and Diddy were actually very cool with each other. Like, they would pick each other up from the airport when they would visit the other coast, you know? And some people don't like, okay, I'm going to break it down. It's a little confusing.
Please
Back
do.
then, East Coast was the originator of hip hop, is how they like to claim. I don't know, okay? They state that this is where all the biggest hip hop artists were coming out of. Now, when there would be talented artists of West Coast, they felt frustrated that they're not getting attention because they're not from the East Coast. And
Right.
sometimes the East Coast rappers would make fun of the West Coast rappers, like they're just wannabes. So there was always this competition, but they always tried to help each other. Suge would even offer Diddy and his crew protection when they came out to perform on the West Coast. There were a lot of groups of people, perhaps organized groups of people, that would use this music to represent everything that they stood for and what coast they stood for.
Yeah.
So for years, out of the goodness of Suge's heart,
even sports
he says,
uses the East and West.
Take that as you will, because Suge Knight is in prison for manslaughter right now. So I don't know how much goodness he has in his heart. But he felt that once Diddy and Biggie got big, Diddy wanted to charge Suge Knight for everything, even though he helped him get big. Now Suge Knight is like, hey, can you come to the West Coast to perform at a show? He's like, oh, I got to charge an appearance fee. And it's like, what about all the times that I helped you without charging you? Suddenly you want to act like you're you're not indebted to me at all. Is the feeling that Suge Knight has. Rightfully so or not, I don't know.
Right.
But Suge Knight is pissed. He feels like Diddy owes him. To be completely transparent, Suge Knight is also known as a bully in the game. That's how he's described. Some people think that Diddy and Suge are cut from the same cloth. It's like comparing a terminal illness to a different kind of terminal illness. They're both cancers in society. They're both terrifying. Both are ruthless. Both get what they want no matter what. But other netizens argue two key differences. One, Suge Knight never pretends that he didn't do everything for himself. Like, you know who you're getting into bed with when you get into bed with Suge Knight. Whereas Diddy does so much PR to be brother love. And two, from what the public knows, Suge is someone who hurt and exploited people. No question. He was a quote-unquote gangster. But Diddy did all of that, and he's an alleged sexual criminal on top of that.
Yeah, very true.
Side note, Suge Knight has been arrested multiple times and charged with domestic violence, so keep that in your mind, but that's just what netizens have been stating. Now, Suge Knight signs Tupac in prison and pays a $1.5 million bail to get him out. Wow. That's another part of the conspiracy. People are like, why is his bail so high?
No kidding.
Because usually people with these types of charges, he got convicted, he's appealing it, and he could get out on bail while the appeal is being, worked.
Okay, because he's rich, no?
Yeah, some people say that, but he wasn't that rich at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. He pays the bail, which Interscope Records, the massive record company that he was signed with, did not want to because he wasn't mainstream enough for them. They didn't like the risk. Suge Knight pays the bail, and immediately he comes out, signs with Death Row Records, and both of them are ready to take down Bad Boy. And they're very vocal about it. At a music awards, Suge Knight tells the East Coast artist to come to Death.
That reminds me of like what happened to Shaquille O'Neal, and he wasn't going to get paid in Orlando, and then Lakers were ready to take him out. So when you're in prison and your own record label, Interscope's not going to pay for you to get out because it's too spicy to get your own star out, then no wonder Suge Knight's going to come sweeping in and pay that $1.5 million bail to get him and to bring him over to his team. And that's a smart move.
Throw records. Unless you want your executive to dance in your videos and be in all the thumbnails of your records. He didn't say the thumbnail part. Most of Biggie's songs on YouTube, if you go right now, they have Diddy on the thumbnail.
Oh my God.
Like, why does Notorious B.I.G's song called Nasty Girl? Why is the thumbnail two women whispering into Diddy's ear?
Biggie's not in there?
No.
Just Diddy?
Yeah.
Is Diddy singing in there?
A lot of the songs that he's in, he's not even singing. He's just like dancing around Biggie.
What?
I mean, he's like a producer, but it's just like he's the ghost of Christmas past. Why are you always there? It feels like, what is the purpose? He's not singing, really. He's not really dancing. Sometimes he'd be in the car driving. Biggie's in the passenger seat rapping. And then all of a sudden, Diddy would be like, hell yeah. And that's it. It's weird.
So that's what Suge Knight was saying.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Why are you, like, you're weird. You're like a corny executive is what they're calling him. Like, are you a hallucination? Why are you always there? It's just bizarre. What's the purpose?
Are
Diddy
you
would
a
later state
hallucination?
that he was at the award show. He said he was shocked that Suge said that because he thought they were friends. Regardless, the East Coast versus West Coast
this cracks me up.
War, battle, if you will, was ignited. And really, without much of their own say, Tupac and Biggie become the faces of it. Tupac of the West Coast, Biggie of the East Coast.
Of course.
There are further allegations that Suge Knight might have been seeing one of Diddy's ex-girlfriends and the mother of his child, Justin Combs' mom, Misa Hilton. Do you remember from the last episode?
Yeah, absolutely.
Suge Knight was allegedly seeing Misa Hilton, and they have pictures of Suge Knight hanging out with not just Misa Hilton, but Diddy's son, Justin.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to run magazine ads with that picture and a caption to read, "The East Coast can't even take care of their own."
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's getting really dirty really quick. Some state that Suge was actually protecting Misa from Diddy because others allege that Diddy was very violent with Misa. But like I said, Suge seems to be violent with women as well, or he has a record of being violent with women.
Right.
And others state that Suge was just doing it to get back at Diddy. But after all of this, after Suge Knight publicly insults Bad Boy and Diddy, the next month, Suge Knight's friend Jake Robles is shot and killed at a party in Atlanta. Allegedly by Diddy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones, the one that was also at the Manhattan shooting with Jennifer Lopez. Same bodyguard.
Oh, wow.
The bodyguard shot?
That's the allegation.
Okay.
Other people are saying, no, it was a different guy. That's also Diddy's longtime friend. But Suge Knight's best friend is killed at a party in Atlanta by someone who is apparently on Diddy's side. Now, it was later disputed, and Diddy vehemently denies it, saying, "That's insane. Why would I have his friend killed? I have too much to lose. I fear God too much." It's just getting very messy. It just feels like the record labels have a lot more skin in the game, whereas Tupac and Biggie were friends who had a falling out and everything just escalates from there. I will say that most people believe that Suge Knight and Diddy were encouraging this anger from both sides. Whereas Tupac and Biggie, if they had sat down, I think that they could have talked it out. I mean, even the way that Tupac talks about it in an interview, he sounds more betrayed. He brings up the fact that he was the one that gave Biggie his first shows. As for having beef with Biggie, Tupac says, you know, Suge Knight told me something enlightening the other day. Having beef with Bad Boy Records is like going to a playground and picking on the kids. Tupac says he sees himself like a big brother to Biggie. He can't have beef with him because he grew up and made money. He's mad at Biggie because he disrespected Tupac. That's it. That's why he's mad.
Yeah, that's fair.
He said Biggie got seduced by the power, not because he's an evil person, but because money is evil if it's not handled right.
Wow.
Fear got stronger than love, and they did things that they know they weren't supposed to do. They know in their heart. That's why they're in hell now. They can't sleep. That's why they're telling all the reporters, why are they doing this to us and to hip hop, da 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 da. Because they're in hell. They can't make money. They can't look at themselves because they know. All I ask for is, if you're going to act like a gangster, you're going to act like the king of New York, I'm going to expect that. And when you don't come through, then I'm going to want to crush your empire. And that's what it's time for. All 5 bullets touched me, but you couldn't kill me. So all you did was just give me more ambition, more drive. You're really not going to be able to stop me now. For the ones that shot me, thanks but no thanks. I'm still alive. You missed. I'm hard to kill. He does go on to state, but he does love the East Coast. He was actually born in the East Coast. He was born in Harlem.
Yeah, exactly.
It does get even messier if you can imagine. A week after Tupac is released from prison, it's alleged that Biggie's wife, Faith Evans, who is signed with Bad Boy Records, the one that's on the song I'll Be Missing You, she flies out to LA for work, runs into Tupac, and it's alleged that the two of them would end up sleeping together. Faith Evans has always denied this story, which, side note, they were actually supposed to meet each other. Faith said that she had Biggie's go-ahead to go to LA and work with Tupac on his album.
Interesting.
After all of this?
Yeah, I don't know if Diddy was the one that was mainly having anger towards everybody, but it seems like Biggie at that time, I guess, if this is true, if he did give the go-ahead, he seems like, oh yeah, this is just music to get sales. Like we're just beefing with each other to get sales, quote unquote. And it's alleged that those who saw them in the studio, Faith was sitting on Tupac's lap. This is not a great part in this, but Tupac would tell the New York Times in an interview that Biggie's wife bought him this new shirt and a new suit, and he did enough in terms of thanking her.
Nice.
Which you can kind of draw the connections there. Yeah. Now, there's different versions of what happens after that. Some state that Biggie was very upset and potentially violent with Faith when this New York Times article came out. Others state that he understood Faith was put in this weird position because all of these rumors, and this is the West Coast just trying to with Biggie because of the song Who Shot You, and things just start escalating quicker and quicker. Very soon after that, Tupac releases his second album, All Eyes on Me. This album would actually outsell Biggie's previous album, making him the most successful rapper. Death Row Records was back on top after this release. Nice. There was a confrontation at a music awards show in LA, but thankfully nobody was injured. Guns were drawn. Yeah. It's alleged that Biggie was confronted by Tupac and Suge, while Diddy just ran up out of there, which Biggie was allegedly upset with because what the hell was that? But Diddy allegedly told him, I can't be caught up in a gunplay. It's not good for business. After that, it seems like things calmed down. Things are getting better. At future events, Suge would just kind of side sweep all these comments about Diddy saying, look, there's nothing between Death Row and Bad Boy or me and Puff. Death Row sells volume, so how could Puffy be a threat to me or Bad Boy be a threat to Death Row? But the next month, everything blows up when Tupac releases a track called Hit 'Em Up.
That's the one.
It is one of the most well-known rap songs. It's a pretty scathing response to Biggie's song. Notable lyrics include, and it kicks off strong, I effed your you fat motherfucker.
Yeah.
West Side, Bad Boy Killers. You claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife. He also name drops Lil' Kim, who is notably a music icon in her own right, like I said, but also the alleged mistress in the relationship with Faith Evans and Biggie. He name drops her. There's also another play on words. Biggie has this very famous song called Player's Anthem, where he says, grab your dick if you love hip hop. Tupac raps, grab your Glocks when you see Tupac. Call the cops when you see Tupac. Who shot me? But you punks didn't finish. 5 shots couldn't drop me. I took it and smiled. Now I'm gonna set the record straight. Now you tell them who won. I see them, they run. They don't wanna with us. Biggie, Bad Boy, as a staff, record label, and as a motherfucking crew. And if you wanna be down with Bad Boy, then you too. West Side till we die.
Yeah.
It's often referred to as, quote, the hardest diss track. Netizens have stated.
See, that's what I mean. When everyone's putting out their diss tracks right now, it's actually laughable because it's like, have you not heard Hit 'Em Up from Tupac and understand where their rap beef went? We're all pretending like what MGK and Eminem and frickin' Kendrick and Drake, what they're going through is even close to what Biggie and Tupac were going through. With the type of heat and level, like it's actually laughable. We're all just in a different era now. We're just wishing we could be as gangster as they were back then, because this is real stuff. Like when that song came out, it's straight to the point, y'all. It's not hiding anything, and it's actual beef because they're actually in each other's lives and they're actually friends. So it was an actual betrayal. It wasn't just people trying to make money through quick little quotes, you know?
Between Kendrick Lamar and Drake pale in comparison to the pure anger and betrayal that you can feel Tupac has. Some people say rightfully so, some people say it's misplaced, but again, it's just a song. To which Diddy does an interview about the song, and he tries to reason with the reporter that it's just gone too far. He says, if I'm gonna set a man up to get shot, which I would never do, I'm not gonna be in the country, I'm gonna be in Bolivia somewhere. He says, I hope that THUG life shit is really over, but on the real, if you're gonna be a motherfucking, you gotta live and die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There ain't no jumping in and out of that THUG life. If that's what you choose to do, you're gonna go out like that. Yep. I'm not one. The only ones I know are dead or in jail or about to be. But now the public is even more invested in the situation between the two. Bad Boy Records employees even received death threats at this point, which one ex-employee says, I don't recall reading in the employee manual that dodging bullets was part of my job description. Tupac goes on to do an interview where he states he believes he knows the police know who shot him, but they're doing nothing about it. He says, I already know who shot me. Everybody knows who shot me. The police know who shot me. But that situation, what comes around goes around. I believe in karma. I believe in all of that. I'm not worried about it. They missed. I'm not worried about it unless they come back. And by some accounts, they do come back. September 7th, 1996, at the Mike Tyson-Bruce Seldon fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Tupac is shot 4 times in the streets of Vegas. He was sitting in the passenger seat of Suge Knight's car. Tupac allegedly had a previous run-in with the Crips gang at the casino. They had a brief fight. They're separated, pulled apart. Suge and Tupac are headed to this new club. They're driving. After this fight, they're driving away. Cadillac pulls up, and a gunman fires 14 shots into the car. Tupac is hit 4 times. Suge Knight is injured with a bullet fragment that hits him in the head, but he is not directly shot. 6 days later, Tupac dies from his injuries. He's only 25 years old.
Oh my God, he's so young.
The conspiracies that he's still alive, it appears, are fueled understandably by a combination of wishful thinking and the way that his estate was able to continuously release his back catalog posthumously. Snoop Dogg revealed, when he went to see Tupac in the hospital, they were going through a rough patch. Like they'd always loved each other, but it was just complicated.
I drove down there to the hospital because I wanted to see my, you know what I'm saying, make sure he was straight. I'm thinking that he was gonna make it.
That's sad. Yeah.
And he said when I walked in, I could just feel Tupac wasn't there, and I fainted. And his mother pulled me aside, Tupac's mother, and reminded me how strong I was.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, my baby ain't never seen you weak. I don't want you to be weak in front of him.
Wow.
You go in the bathroom,
Wow.
you fix yourself up, and you go back in there, and you talk to him, and you tell him how you feel.
That's Tupac's mom is comforting
Snoop Dogg, yeah.
I said a little prayer to him in his head and held his hand and whispered at him, you know.
Wow.
Said my piece with him.
Wow.
You know, he didn't have no consciousness, but I felt like my spirit and his spirit connected, and I felt like he got it.
And Tupac is dead. His mom even said, my son called me every night. I haven't received a phone call in years. That's how I know it to be true in
Wow.
regards to the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, my name is Tupac Shakur, and I'm 17 years old. My mother taught me 3 things: respect, knowledge, search for knowledge.
Yeah,
It's an
Tupac's
eternal-
gone, that's for sure.
eternal journey.
Ah.
That's like my haircut, the line. 360 degrees, find knowledge, always.
Wow.
And she taught me to not be quiet. To, if there's something in my mind, speak it. That's what God, that was the breath. She always taught, but also to listen. And she told me this little joke that God gave you 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So she taught me respect, knowledge, and understanding, mostly. You know, just listen a lot.
Oh
Briefly, the main suspect was the guy that had a run-in at the casino, that got into a physical fight hours before Tupac's murder.
I know I was joking at the beginning, like saying I'm a believer that he's in Cuba and all that, but that's some realness. You know he's passed away at that point. You know he is, and if like it is wishful thinking at that point, and wow, that's so powerful to know that Tupac's mom had to go and tell Snoop Dogg, like, you can't go in there weak, you need to go in strong, collect yourself, get in there and tell him what you need to tell him. Oh, wow. What a revolutionary man that was taken away at 25. Wow.
His name is Orlando Anderson. He's a gang member. Now, officers were told by everybody, oh yeah, the shooter is Orlando Anderson, which they were like, okay, thank you so much for letting us know. We're going to do absolutely nothing about it.
How come?
They arrest him for a few hours, but they're like, I do think that the police didn't care.
Oh, they hated Tupac, right?
Yeah. It was said that even when Tupac was shot the first time in New York City at the Quad Studio, there was a police officer that came, did not like him, and was basically laughing at him, taunting him as he's being taken away on a stretcher to the ambulance. Officers were told that it was Orlando Anderson. They do detain him for like a few hours and then let him go.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac? No. Do you know anyone who owns a white Cadillac? No.
And they do nothing about it. It's just strange.
Wow.
For 2 years, they barely look into him to figure out if he's involved, which he likely was. And if he was he ordered or hired by someone else to do it? Because he's part of this gang, and it's known that he's not a high-level person in this gang. He's not just going to go rogue typically. So what is this? The authorities don't even pretend like they're interested. Instead, they wait it out. And then 2 years later, Orlando Anderson is dead. He's shot in a gang-related shootout that is unrelated to Tupac's death, but now he's dead. And one might presume, okay, put the dots together. That's so embarrassing, right? So the LVPD, the Las Vegas Police Department, said investigators have reason to believe that the altercation had no connection to the shooting. But people are like, what are you saying right now? That doesn't even make any sense. And they just keep pushing it off. Now, the death of Tupac would make the East versus West Coast rivalry reach its peak.
Oh, you think?
There's a big reaction to this. I don't know if I want to call it, because there is actually a different conflict that's called by this, but some LA police have said it was the 10-day conflict, where it was gang shootouts nonstop.
Oh, no way. I bet.
between the rival gangs because
Oh,
it
that
feels
must
like
have
they
been
took
rough.
out your representative, you know?
I see.
So there needs to be payback. There needs to be eye for an eye. Meanwhile, Diddy is very busy stating he has nothing to do with this. He says, we were shocked at first and we were hurt. It was like, damn, why did that have to happen? Then we were scared because we know how the media is. We're the ones that they're pointing their fingers to. Kept on talking about it. I don't have nothing to do with Tupac getting killed. Which is crazy because in 2023, they're going to arrest someone who was allegedly in that car that gave the order that night. And he says, Keffy D says, Diddy was going to pay me $1 million to do it.
Yeah.
But it seems at that time, Biggie had no idea about any of this. Witnesses who were around him when he found out that Tupac had been shot, they said Biggie was nervous and hopeful. He tried to reason, maybe just to himself. It's okay. He'd been shot before. It was fine. He survived. He's going to survive this one. He's fine.
Man.
Once it was confirmed that Tupac was gone, it's alleged by Faith Evans that Biggie called her. His voice was so low and small and he was sobbing. And he just kept saying, something ain't right, Faye. Shit got f***ed up somewhere along the way, but that was my man.
Wow.
This is where things get stranger.
Can you imagine?
2 days after Tupac's death, Biggie gets arrested for marijuana possession. They do get out in a few days, but when they do, the car that the cops had taken in, it won't start anymore. So Biggie and his friend, they go over to a dealership to get a rental car. It's like this big old
Weird.
Chrysler white van.
Okay.
Because they have to drive all the way from New York City to New Jersey. They need a car. They rent this old van, and on the highway, they get into a large accident, causing Biggie to fracture his leg. The accident is bad enough that he had to be cut out of the van.
Wow.
They had to come cut him out. So for the next 2 months, he's in rehab. He finds faith, not his wife, but he finds God.
Literally.
I mean, I think the situation with Tupac, he's just trying to
No.
change his life. I think it's this feeling of
Conscious
waking up because
getting
what
to
are we
him.
doing here? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die if I keep going down this route. Like, it was never that serious. What is happening right now?
Yeah,
He had a
yeah.
cane that he needed to walk with, and
Wow,
he would just
that's why
stay
he got the
home or
cane.
in the
Okay.
studio working on his next album. He was getting death threats every single day from the West Coast. And I'm
Right.
not saying like West Coast as in Suge Knight, potentially, but like the ones that are sending death threats are like the gangs that resonate with Tupac.
Right.
That's how real it is. I think somebody's trying to kill me. I'll be waking up paranoid. I'll be really scared.
That's
You know.
rough.
You be seeing me? Scared to death.
He's just working on his next album, Life After Death, which he's gonna die soon.
That's
This will actually be released
insane.
after he dies.
He named the album Life After Death.
Oh, this is even creepier. His first album with Bad Boy Records is Ready to Die.
Yep.
Then his second album that's released after he's killed is Life After Death.
Jeez.
But he started working on this album, naming it that name
Yeah.
because of Tupac's death.
No.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, just Life After Death. It was about just reincarnating, which will be eerie, you know. But before this album is released, Tupac's album is released posthumously. So he's passed, but he had this in the vault. It's the 7-day theory under the name Machiavelli, because obviously these are done by Tupac. He had no intention of passing. He didn't know it was going to happen. There are a lot of disses towards Bad Boy scattered throughout the whole album. In fact, on the back, you have cartoon characters of Biggie and Diddy. Diddy is wearing a pink
Really?
ballerina dress.
Oh my God,
And
that's
he's dancing,
hilarious.
while Biggie is depicted as
The
a pig,
pig.
and his beanie says P.I.G. Instead of like
Wow.
Notorious B.I.G., it says P.I.G. Biggie does not respond. In fact, he goes on to interviews to talk about how Tupac's death has enlightened him, if you will, because he realized it's not just two guys that have issues with each other, but they ignited this whole coast-to-coast rivalry. He says, I kind of realized how powerful me and Pac was.
Yeah.
Which is very valid, but that statement isn't really going to calm down the West Coast or the East Coast.
No, it's
and
not.
at its height, the West Coast just want payback. They want to take one out on the East Coast. And the East Coast feels defensive because Tupac is the one that was accusing Biggie in the first place, and the tensions just keep getting worse. Biggie's got this new album coming out, and Diddy is allegedly telling him, you have to go to LA to promote this new album.
That is crazy.
Which a lot of people were confused by, because technically he doesn't have to go to LA to promote this album. And so soon after Tupac's death, 6 months after Tupac's death, a lot of people would say that is very ill-advised because he's getting death threats. They're telling him, don't come to California. You come to California, you're going to find out what California is about.
Jeez.
Did he go?
Yes.
He sure did.
Okay.
Oh,
It
man.
seems like Biggie really did not want to go. He actually scheduled like a press conference in Europe. He was going to go to Europe. They canceled that trip so that he would go to LA. He didn't want to go to LA. He didn't even really want to go to Europe. He didn't want to be on a plane. He still has that leg injury. And Biggie's like a big dude is how Gene Deal describes him and says, sitting on a plane, even in first class, he's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to travel. He doesn't want to be outside. It's just weird. So they end up doing all these meetings, these press tours. And then eventually one night, Diddy is like, hey, we got to go to a party. Biggie's like, I don't want to go to a party. I don't want to do any of these things. But for some reason...
How do we know these exact details?
Yeah,
Gene Deal, the former bodyguard, was Diddy's bodyguard. The day he was there. He was holding Big's body when he died. Biggie's body.
Rough.
So that's his first person encounter.
Counts.
Okay.
But still alleged, but first person encounter.
Yeah.
The bodyguard, Gene Deal, says he was going to go ride with Biggie because the whole time, he said in LA, he was telling Diddy, we don't have enough protection for Biggie. Like, Biggie's the one getting all the threats. It's not really you, Diddy. Sorry, no offense. But like, we need more protection for Biggie.
Yeah.
But Gene Deal was specifically hired to protect Diddy. And he seems like the type of guy that's pretty punctual with his job. He's like, I like to dot my I's and, whatever, cross my T's. So he's like, I'm gonna go in the car with Biggie on the way to the party. Because everybody knows we're going to that party. Right. So I'm gonna be in the car. And Diddy allegedly forced him, no, you're riding with me unless you never want a job again.
Jeez.
He gets into Diddy's car. And he alleges that Diddy was riding very low, like he had popped his chair all the way down, which was weird.
What the hell?
Wow. So
really?
This former bodyguard is basically, pointing fingers at Diddy without like actually saying that Diddy did it.
Yes. So there's a mix of people. There are some people who think Diddy facilitated Biggie's death. Some people think he just knew it was going to happen.
Right.
And he just needed to make sure it wasn't him and he wasn't going to stop it. So they're traveling in separate cars. Diddy and Biggie are in separate cars.
Okay.
That is when, at a red light, similar to Tupac, Biggie is shot and killed.
Wow.
He is shot 4 times.
That's insane.
That's big in there. That is big in there. Y'all get down. That is big in there. Somebody got shot. Y'all get down, rep. That is big in there.
Diddy's version of events is, so we're going out to the parking lot and my car's in front of his car. I make a right, he's right behind us, but not right behind us. We get to a light and we're waiting there for him. And then this car pulls up, then we cross the light. As we're crossing the light, I hear shots ring out. I duck down, I'm thinking someone's shooting. And I've been at parties before where people do that, shoot in the air. And then somebody in the car looked back, Biggie's car had been hit. I jumped out the car while the car is moving. So I run towards the car and it's just him and his best friend. Everybody else had jumped out the car and ran. His best friend Damien is there and I'm like, I'm here. And Biggie slouched over and I'm trying to push him because he's real big and he got caught under the steering wheel. So me and Damien are trying to push him off. I'm yelling, where's the hospital? We're driving to the hospital. I'm talking to him, touching him. I'm not feeling nothing. And due to the fact that I've seen people actually die, seeing that happen, I could kind of feel like it was death. It's like a feeling that you get. I can't really describe to you. It's not a gift that I'm proud of having. I was like, damn, I think he's dead. I'm saying it inside myself. So we get to the hospital, running lights, everything. We carrying him inside. And we were there for maybe like half an hour. Then doctors come and tell us the news. I was on my knees praying the whole time. I was just stuck. I couldn't understand. It gets worse though. I had Damien call Biggie's mother. And then in the middle of telling her, Damien breaks down. So I had to tell her.
Who's Damien?
Biggie's best friend that was in the car.
Yeah.
Thankfully, alive. So I had to calm her down and try and get somebody over to the house. Biggie was just 24 years old.
Wow, and Biggie was
Tupac
24.
was 25. Diddy would talk frequently about Biggie's murder.
Do you, is it just me? But every time you hear what Diddy is going through in these moments, you have no sympathy for him. Everything he is saying is just like, oh, cool, you're a part of this. Like, you can just feel the guiltiness and just lack of empathy that he is saying, even when he's trying to get some sympathy from people too. Where when Snoop Dogg literally was beefing with Tupac, but then came to his deathbed and was talking to him, like, I think all of you were feeling sympathy and real remorse in what went down there. So that's why it's eerie, because it also, Tupac was saying a lot of stuff too, and I remember there's an interview where Tupac says something on the interview and it was very against the East Coast, and Snoop Dogg was looking right in Tupac and they looked at the camera almost like, man, you shouldn't have said that. Something's going to be coming now. So it's pretty rough how self-aware everyone was of this when it was going down too. But when people are pulling your strings, that's why the movie Hereditary is so scary, because these cults can get your death and they can signature it too.
He would say that dealing with the trauma and the stress really pushed him to release his debut album, No Way Out.
Really pushed him to
He had always been more of a producer and
make
executive
money.
until Biggie died, and then he released No Way Out with the song I'll Be Missing You, the tribute to Biggie. He says, I think I always feel some sort of responsibility because I'm in this thing with him. He was my artist. Diddy says after Biggie's murder, he had to channel Biggie's mother. He says, I saw the
Channel his
strength in
mother?
Biggie's mother. If she isn't giving up, if she's not jumping off a bridge, she's having to get up and go to work, still take care of her kids. I've got to get myself together. Now, even back then, there were a lot of conspiracies of what happened.
I bet
Some
there
people
was.
believed face value. The East Coast had someone take out Tupac. So the West Coast retaliated and took out Biggie.
Eye for an eye.
Right? But there were other conspiracies of what happened. The first being that Suge Knight took out his own artist, Tupac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would
So
he do that?
The allegation being the record label owner of Death Row Records knew that Tupac was going to leave his label, start his own label, and had him killed. I know some people really believe in it. I don't know why. Like, I was reading through netizen theories. I just believe not that one for some. I'm not saying Suge Knight is a good person, right? But it seems like the connection that Tupac had to him and his rather lack of indifference for money and hoarding money, it just doesn't sound that accurate. There were a lot of convincing netizens that were like, I mean, Suge Knight's not a good guy. And honestly, Tupac would have been better off without Suge Knight. But they don't think that Suge Knight was the one that ordered that hit. They think it was Diddy or somebody else. Then there are a small group of people, there were brief allegations that the goal wasn't even to kill Tupac that night. It was to kill Suge Knight. He was the real target. The theory goes that Suge Knight's ex-wife and the former head of security of Death Row, I don't know if they had a thing, but the conspiracy goes that they had planned to kill Suge Knight so that they could take control over the label.
Right.
Both have denied the accusation. It was just a floating theory. Most people believed that Diddy was involved. But then when Biggie died, it was confusing. The West Coast felt like, okay, maybe it's West Coast versus East Coast, something happened there. This is back then. But those close to Diddy said, we don't know if that's entirely true. They allege Notorious B.I.G. was planning on leaving Bad Boy. In fact, he had already hired attorneys and they were trying to get his publishing rights back from Diddy. Some even go on further to allege that Biggie did not like what Diddy did with all the Tupac stuff, releasing the song Who Shot You, like generating all this drama and then getting people killed. Like he didn't like that. He didn't like everything that was happening there, in which Diddy allegedly told Biggie's attorneys, I will never give up his publishing rights until I'm dead and my bones are crushed into powder.
Wow.
And I think it's true. I don't know specifically, but it seems like Tupac's family and his estate have been able to have more control over his legacy and have been able to continue that family line for Tupac. Whereas for Biggie's case, it seems like Diddy still has a lot of control of his estate.
Looks like
I don't know
almost
if he
most
gave it
of
up recently when he was saying he's giving all his publishing rights back, remember? Right before the Cassie lawsuit, he was like, I'm such a good person, I'm going to give artists all their publishing rights back. Turned out to be a very sleazy move because he's asking all these artists, hey, you want your publishing rights back? Sign this crazy NDA where you can never speak about me publicly.
Jeez, eh?
But I don't know, maybe he took care
my
of Biggie's
God.
family. I don't know. Like, I'm not Biggie's family. I don't know if they feel some type of way about him, but it just
They
seems
haven't spoken up, right?
they have spoken up about like the video of him beating Cassie.
What did they say?
Biggie's mom said, if I see him, I want to slap him.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah,
Now,
we'll
according
get
to some
there.
that knew the situation, said Biggie was absolutely going to leave Puff. I know for a fact because Biggie told me that.
So
The bodyguard
Biggie
Gene
was
Deal said
going
that.
to leave Puff.
Everybody wanted to leave Puffy. Everybody always leaves Puffy.
Everyone leaves Puffy.
Which, side note,
You got that
there
right.
is some foreshadowing because everybody does leave
Everyone
Diddy.
sure
It seems
does.
like he only has like 3 artists still signed under Bad Boy. 2 of them are his own sons. Even Machine Gun Kelly left him to start his own label.
Oh, so he
Interesting.
doesn't have that many artists. I thought he has so many.
He has all the publishing rights.
And
So
that's
he's
how he
making
gets
money off their like royalties, I guess.
Oh, you're saying they sign and then they leave.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh, I'll give you your publishing rights back for those songs and stuff. Yeah.
Jeez. Eh?
Now, Suge Knight would later state along the lines of, when Tupac died, he lost a lot, including a lot of money. Death Row Records lost a lot of money. So it seems like maybe the Tupac estate had some sort of arrangement with Death Row. Again, I don't know. Maybe they were upset with how Suge Knight handled it. I'm not sure, right? But when Biggie died, Diddy gained a lot. He gained a lot of money on top of everything. He gained sympathy. He had his new debut album. He had
Very
that
true.
tribute to Biggie. He has all of this. But to this day, Diddy has denied all conspiracies and allegations. About Tupac, Diddy says, Tupac was the biggest star hip-hop has ever seen, hands down. His charisma, his personality, his whole shit. He was loved. But when it came to a situation when you're in a war with somebody and you don't even want to fight the war, like, he was the worst. I was like, why do I have to be in a war with this motherfucker right here? This motherfucker is crazy. It was unfair. Like, we ain't doing shit and we're getting accused of all this shit. We got motherfuckers making records about us, dissing us. He was later asked on The Breakfast Club, a podcast, about the situation with Tupac and how some people think he was involved. And he responds, and this whole thing is crazy. His whole demeanor changes. Throughout the interview, he's very animated with his hands, larger than life character. And then immediately when Tupac comes up, he's like a statue, like a Greek statue.
Stoic.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect. But
very little movement. In fact, he takes a pen and he keeps pressing it into the side of his face. A lot of body language experts, which you guys know I'm usually not the biggest fan of, but they state that it's a way of him releasing tension. And he tells the host, look, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect. I mean, I appreciate you as a journalist for asking, but it's nonsense. To which the comments read, I've only ever done 1 year of psychology classes and I can tell you something's not right.
Yeah.
Another comment reads, his mannerisms and his refusal to answer questions about Tupac's murder clearly says he's guilty. And in that same podcast, they went on a whole rant about 50 Cent potentially being gay, which, like, don't even get me started on 50 Cent. 50 Cent will be included in the next episode.
Nice.
This man has hated Diddy for as long as anyone can remember.
Yep,
if there are no
right.
haters, 50 Cent is gone. Like, 50 Cent is Diddy's #1 hater.
Yes.
And they spent so long talking about it. There, at one point, Diddy's like, no, 50 loves me. And everyone's like, no, he doesn't. He does not love you. He doesn't like you. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, they spent so long talking about all this nonsense. But then now you're saying, oh, that
Diddy's
Tupac
such a
thing,
character,
where
I tell
I
ya.
would, if I were innocent, I would try to claim my
Yeah.
innocence. I suddenly don't want to talk about nonsense. I'm so serious. He also rants during his first Rolling Stone cover that he got because of the success of his tribute songs to Biggie. He says, I wanted to talk about the success that I had, the moves I made for Black culture, things like that. But this is what you want to talk about? Like Tupac and Biggie? I'm not mad at you. This is what the readers want to hear, but it's f***ed up. I've gotten my fame through tragedies. That's not pleasant for me. I'm even more popular now because of the tragedy of Biggie. Not popular in a good way. Which, this seems to be a trend. About the college crush incident, he says along the lines of, it's not fair that everyone will remember me by the 9 people that died, no matter how many platinums I sold. I'll always be known for that incident.
What?
Which is crazy. But would Diddy really do all of this for fame and money? I mean, murder and conspiracy to commit murder are extreme crimes.
Yes.
I guess we'll only know if it's discussed in court. But
That's true.
one who allegedly knew Diddy says, that guy was all about himself. All he cares about is power and this odd, strange, deep desire to remain famous. He loves having his photo taken. He loves showing off his extravagant life. He wants to keep Diddy at the top. Being part of his company is like a circus and he's the ringmaster. The main reason he's such a superstar is because all he thinks about is Diddy. From the minute he wakes up until the minute he goes to bed, Diddy's hobby is Diddy.
You got that right.
One insider source says, everyone always chalked it up to him being a creative genius when it came to his obsession with controlling things, but he just really had a thing for fame, okay? They nicknamed him at Bad Boy Records Notorious VIP because he always wanted to be treated like a VIP.
That's very true.
Life After Death, Biggie's album, came out after Biggie passed. Diddy's debut album came out after Biggie passed. And it was this debate of who's going to be on Rolling Stone, according to the former bodyguard, Gene Deal. Everyone was saying, it's got to be Biggie. It's got to be Biggie. Like, this is his legacy. This is to remember him. And allegedly, Diddy said, no, he's dead. I need to be on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Oh, my God.
The conspiracy now, this is a conspiracy. Nothing about this information is verified. It could have been made up by some guy in a bunker eating Pringles and drunk out of his mind. So please do your own research. I have no intention of convincing anyone. But the conspiracy that is widely available online is that allegedly Diddy put a hit out on Tupac. Once Tupac was gone, he realized that he is the prime target for revenge. People are pointing the finger at him and Biggie. So allegedly he went and had Biggie killed because he knows this isn't going to stop. I mean, it's only getting more and more intense. There's no end to this. A lot of people have interpreted the conspiracy theory in a few ways, that either he planned for Biggie to get killed or he knew about it and did nothing. It does help Diddy a lot. First, the East Coast versus West Coast, it ends a little bit after this. Because it's like, okay, we've lost everyone and everything. Let's just, we can't do this anymore.
lost two ghosts.
We can't keep going eye for an eye. They took someone, we took someone, it's then the truce. 2, instead of being the guy that might have been involved with a murder, he becomes the guy that lost so much. He lost his best friend. He lost so much in this rivalry. It's alleged that Biggie wanted to leave and take his publishing rights. This way, he likely could have held on to it for much longer. And some people actually take it far past that and say they actually connect Kim Porter's death to this Biggie conspiracy. And they say after Biggie, Diddy's stardom and the trajectory of his life completely skyrocketed. Because of the tribute, all of this, people saw him in a certain light. He was very marketable.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like his prime after Ciroc, the alcohol brand, was dying down. There were new people coming onto the scene, which, I mean, he's still a billionaire. You would think that he'd be very happy. But the conspiracy theory is he still wants that fame.
Yeah,
like some insiders say. He loves fame. He loves being the Diddy.
Yeah.
And so after Kim's passing, perhaps it was another way to reinvent himself. Because his next album after Kim's passing, there's a lot of tributes to Kim Porter, and he changes his name to Brother Love.
Wow.
So my new name is Love, a.k.a. Brother Love.
Oh, his actual name is Brother Love?
Well, he says, call me Brother Love, but
AKA
he stated that he
Brother
changed
Love.
his government name to Sean Love Combs, but it
Really?
doesn't appear so because alleged jail records show Sean John Combs. But people are saying perhaps he, again, a conspiracy, had something to do with Kim Porter's death because he wanted this another reinvigorated stage of his life. Because nobody was really talking about Diddy.
No, it's true.
He just
It's
like
very
existed.
true.
He's like
He just
a
got it in
billionaire
a bad
mogul,
way
but
now.
no one's like, oh my gosh, new music. He is, the A-lister.
Right.
Just a conspiracy. Gene Deal alleges that he once heard Diddy say, I'm a businessman. I'm about making money, but something's got to change. I don't care if Pac gotta die. I don't care if Big gotta die, or if Suge Knight gotta go to jail. This was during the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Another artist who knows Diddy well says, he's a bitch. Somebody had to die after Tupac died. He knew
Sorry about the baby crying, y'all.
somebody was gonna die. It's just the art of war. Like, they're gonna take someone down.
Like, do we know who shot Biggie?
Yes, it seems to be someone that, yeah, we do, but it's like complicated. It's a whole other lore. Some people say that Suge Knight has connections to him. It's very complicated. I don't know what the investigators were doing on both these cases. It's unlikely that they were doing their jobs, but what I do know is allegedly Keffy D took a deal in 2009 in LA. Keffy D is the one that was arrested last year for Tupac's murder.
Right.
Okay.
He was arrested 2009 in Los Angeles on a massive narcotics charge, trafficking a lot of drugs. And so he more or less went into an agreement where he said that he would tell the police a lot of stuff about Diddy and the Tupac murder.
I thought the killer is it Orlando?
Yes, he's the one that pulled the trigger. Keffy D was in the car. He did not pull the trigger, but he was the one that allegedly ordered the hit because he
Orchestrated
wanted
it?
to get the $1 million. Orlando is his nephew. So it seems to be like they were all in the car. Orlando had just gotten into a fight with Tupac earlier, and they knew that Diddy had a $1 million hit out on Tupac. So it wasn't even just them. He was like telling a few different people like, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you take out Tupac. So his nephew just gets into a fight with Tupac. It seems what he's trying to describe is, okay then, let's settle it. Let's get our $1 million.
And he said that.
Basically, like he just went on. He was released from his narcotics charge. Nothing happened to Diddy. Nothing happened with the Tupac case. He went life as normal, went on to documentaries, went on to podcasts, wrote a book. We must require standardized testing for microphone purchases because he's just out here confessing to crimes. He said, we couldn't let no record company studio gangster do us like that. Had they lost their fucking rapping ass minds? Because they beat up his nephew at the casino.
Right.
And he says, when conversations would come up about $1 million bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, that was business. But after Tupac, Suge, and them Death Row jumped on my nephew Baby Lane, aka Orlando, that shit became ominously personal. The police would state Keffy D took down Keffy D. They say he put himself squarely in the middle of the conspiracy. He had acquired the gun. He had given the gun to the nephew, the shooter, and he had been present in the vehicle when they hunted down and located both Tupac and Suge Knight. All the other direct conspirators or participants are all dead. The other people in the car, they're dead now.
Okay.
He is the last man standing among the individuals that conspired to kill Tupac. But now, the internet does not believe that to be true. They believe, no, there's another person still standing or laying down or bent over. I'm not too familiar with how people pass time in federal prison. And that person is Sean Diddy Combs.
I see. So that's why like Eminem and all of these people in the industry keep referencing to it.
Yes. And they keep saying Diddy called the hit. And it's not like these two are strangers. Diddy actually knew Keffy D since the 90s. Yeah. Allegedly, Diddy came and was like, I have a couple problems I need to be handled. Now, Keffy D, his biggest problem with all of this, though, is that he never got paid.
Yeah. He never got the $1 million?
No. There's a different guy, a middleman between Keffy D, I guess, and Diddy, and he allegedly got paid and gave nothing to Keffy D. That's what Keffy D is saying.
Are they looking for that guy? Or did they?
He's dead.
He's one of the
He died
dead
in
ones.
2012.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think that Diddy would ever go to court for Tupac's case because it's really Keffy D's word against Diddy's word. And if that guy is dead, I'm sure he paid him in cash likely. There's no evidence of that cash. And with him being dead,
it's over.
Who's to say? Diddy could say, I gave him that cash for watering my lawn. For supplying my baby oil. You know, it's like, who is to say? Who's to prove that it is connected with Keffy D?
Yeah.
Right.
Keffy D says, if he would have just given us half the money, I would have stayed strong, meaning he wouldn't have ratted Diddy out to the cops. Which, side note, Keffy D would later state that that's the only reason Diddy might get away with it, because he never got paid for it. Like, he never directly paid Keffy D. So there's no connection to Diddy and Tupac, his death. He said he even went to the Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony when Diddy got his star. And Keffy D said he went there to get his money, but there were so many cameras, so many people, he couldn't get in contact with Diddy. Prior to his arrest, Keffy D did an interview where he expresses his annoyance with how much Diddy didn't pay him. He says, you know, Gene Deal, the former bodyguard, complaining about you. I'm complaining about you. Goddamn, homie. I was on top of the world till I met your ass. Throw a dog a bone. Standing up there talking about daddy love some shit. Show us some love.
God damn. What the fuck? Brother Love, come show some love. Mr. Love, I be watching you, dude. Damn. You walk around me like I'm some shit on the grass or something. God damn, dog. Fuck. What the fuck? Throw my kids something. Throw somebody kids something. God damn. Daddy love. You ain't no love. That ain't love at all, nigga. Brother, I be seeing you doing your little pretty dance and all that, man. Show some love, homie. Come on, man. Don't be like that, brother love. You just leave bad tastes in everybody's mouth, man. Come on, homie.
And yeah, and this is like before his 2023 arrest. So like imagine just going on a podcast and being like, the person who hired me to murder someone did not pay me for the murder. Yeah, and the podcast host asked, do you feel like Diddy owes you? He says, yeah, I think you should look out. I'm still here. Still waiting, bro. Perhaps it's time for Diddy to pay. Jason, whose 20-year-old brother passed away during the celebrity basketball game, says, I believe in karma. He never really owned up to anything. He never told us he was sorry. Whatever is going on with him now in 2024, I guess it was meant to be. But me, I lost everything that day. I lost my big brother and I lost my best friend.
That's so
Somebody
sad.
who was present at the City College crowd crush said, I think his past deeds are coming back to him. I can't say I'm surprised.
But it took so freaking long.
Yes. 50 Cent, who we will talk about in the next part, he's a longtime hater. He responded to Keffy D implicating Diddy and Tupac's murder, tweeting, "Damn, so Pac got lined up by Brother Love. LOL, time to lawyer up. Shit might get sticky."
Yeah.
Who should get lawyer?
Diddy. This is before he was arrested. As for Biggie's murder, Diddy's former bodyguard said he was there when Biggie was shot. He was in the car with Diddy. He said it was traumatizing to hold Biggie in your hands as he died, and then to tell his mother what happened. He says there needs to be some accountability. It's in his humble opinion, at least, that Diddy and Bad Boy Records should be accountable for the lack of security because they knew what was going on at that time.
Wow.
Regarding Tupac's death, one netizen writes, "Of course Keffy D isn't a hugely credible witness, but it seems like his story gains credibility every day." Another says he was obsessed with Pac because Pac represented everything he isn't and never could be about Diddy. Regarding Biggie's death, one netizen writes, "Puffy creamed off Biggie's death. He knew what he was doing sending him to LA. He became a well-known rapper and made more money off Big after he passed." Another comment reads, "And then after his death, Puffy made a shit ton of money off tribute songs for Biggie, like I'll Be Missing You, pretending to be Biggie's best friend when he was behind this murder. That's beyond evil. R.I.P. Biggie, you were too young and you deserve better."
No kidding.
Another just comments about how much new stuff is coming out about Diddy, and they write, "I wouldn't be surprised if Diddy was revealed to be the Zodiac killer at this point, the Zodiac." Others think this is actually way bigger than Diddy, that the people at the top have sent Diddy to be taken for the slaughter. They write, "Who did Diddy fuck with to be clapped with all of this now? Like everyone has known this stuff for decades, but within 6 months his life is basically over?" They're saying like the Tupac stuff, it was not a hidden secret.
Yeah.
The comments on the song I'll Be Missing You, the tribute song to Biggie, the comments now read, "Every breath Diddy takes, every move Diddy makes, every single day, every time he prays, the guards will be watching you." Another reads, "Making a song for the guy you killed, such a spineless animal." Or, "It's amazing how in the span of a year, a song with beautiful lyrics that are so powerful it can shift and morph into something dark and strange in terms of meaning." There is a lot of discourse on how this is impacting Diddy's legacy because there is argument that Diddy did help make black culture along with rap music, hip hop. He helped make it more mainstream, and indirectly he's likely helping a lot of black artists move forward in their careers, which is not my place to neither agree nor disagree about that discourse. Also, a lot of netizens have pointed out that a lot of his victims are black artists. Freddie P, one of his former artists, states, so he said that he had been attacked recently because people are saying, "You're trying to take a black man down." And he's saying, how are people upset with me about...
What did he do?
He's been very vocal about how shady Diddy has been in the past with business. And a lot of people have been saying, like, nothing has been proven in the court of law yet. Like, you're just trying to take down a black man when there's probably a lot of white men involved in this, which is very true. But Freddie P says, we're just dealing with telling our story. And it sounds so harsh coming out. It sounds like we're trying to kill a legacy, but no, bro, I'm just trying to tell my story. If it sounds harsh, then you could look at Diddy how you want to. These are his actions. I'm not asking you to look at that man harsh. I'm not saying judge that man. I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. I'm just telling you my truth. Is my truth offending you? To which furthers the discourse of, then why didn't they say anything before? Which some commented, people are so tough on the internet. He's a supposed billionaire killer with connections. He threatened to blow up a dude's car and that shit happened.
Yeah.
But sure, be tough on the internet. Cassie opened up Pandora's box and now people have the courage to come out. Others have stated that Diddy being behind bars is what encouraged a lot of people to come out. Because a lot of the lawsuits now are after he's behind bars.
Yeah.
Tupac's family have hired Alex Spiro to investigate any links between Diddy and Tupac's murder. Alex Spiro is not a random lawyer. This is one of the top high-profile attorneys in Hollywood, previously repped Megan Thee Stallion, Jay-Z, Elon Musk, Alec Baldwin recently in the Rust case.
Right.
And because everything comes full circle, Alex Spiro is also repping New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Eric Adams is the one that gifted Diddy the keys to the city of New York City.
Oh, no way.
And then took the keys away from Diddy. And then he is now facing his own corruption and bribery charges.
God.
Wait, when was he hired by Tupac's family?
Oh, after Keffy D came out to say Diddy hired him.
Okay.
So like last few years?
Actually, recently, in the span of a few months. So
this whole murder, double murder from decades ago
is unraveling.
Like ongoing now.
Oh, like developing very quickly now.
Crazy.
And Keffy D's trial is 1 month before Diddy's.
Okay, good to
2
know.
months.
2 months
That
before.
is crazy. Like just like you said, like everything unraveled like right now.
All the truth's coming.
Decades of crimes and
I mean,
you know.
I wasn't too familiar with Diddy or any of the artists involved in this one. I think it was a little bit before my time, but I didn't even know about this college stampede, the college crush incident, which you would think that would follow someone forever because it's pretty bad.
I'm surprised it didn't.
But regardless, Tupac's brother even did an interview recently where he states decades ago when his brother was killed, Diddy had called him and he says, he basically said he had nothing to do with my brother's murder. I told him the truth has still yet to come out, so we're going to see. Here we are 28 years later. It looks like there's some doubt in that statement.
Yeah, you think?
It does not appear that Biggie's family have hired an attorney to look into his death, but his mom did comment on the video of Diddy beating Cassie, and she says, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm praying for Cassie and I'm praying for his mother. I don't want to believe the things I've heard, but I've seen the hotel video. I pray that he apologizes to her. I hope that I can see Sean one day, and the only thing I want to do is slap the daylights out of him. And you can quote me on that.
Wow.
And she has stated about Diddy's relationship with her son Biggie. I believe Sean loved my son after he was dead.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow. Finally, karma is...
Wait, let
she
me hear
has
that
stated
one more
about
time.
Diddy's relationship with her son Biggie. I believe Sean loved my son after he was dead.
Jeez.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow. Finally, karma is catching up to him, like decades and decades.
And like what you said, Tupac once said in an interview, I believe in karma. I believe that everything you do bad comes back to you. And maybe it's time. And that is part 3 of the Diddy case. I will see you in the last and final installment in a few days for part 4. Please be safe, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's very, very interesting. And the two things that are sticking out to me the most to end this before we jump into the next one next time, and thank you all for making it through to the end with me here. Karma and an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Now, these really coexist together, and we were talking so much about the criminal mind, all these nefarious, like, gangsters, East Coast versus West Coast, and we're talking about how the government itself can be like a mafia mob itself. And where does an eye for an eye come from, y'all? Comes from the Hammurabi Code, actually. The Hammurabi Code was in Mesopotamia. It was one of the first laws given to give humans rights and how to act in the government and how you're going to get judgment based off of it. And that's where the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth comes from. If you kill someone, then they die, that type of thing. It's a give and take type of thing. So that is karma itself. It's manufactured karma. So that is why people are saying, well, they're going to get their justice due through the justice system, and that's what karma is. So the Hammurabi Code started in Mesopotamia, and it continued all the way through into all of Europe and got all the way to America. And how it got all the way through to America, if you watch the movie Godfather too, there's a scene where they're in prison, and this is the time where Michael Corleone is trying to find out who tried to kill him, and it was a rival gang. And when they're talking about it, they're talking about how the mafia was made from the Romans and how they orchestrated their government and their warriors and their soldiers. And that trend of the Roman soldiers and how all that worked goes all the way back through the histories to Mesopotamian time with the Hammurabi Code and all that. So when y'all are saying that governments is mafia and all that, it's very true. And that term, eye for an eye, is what keeps the East versus West continuing to go at each other. That's why there's always gonna wanna hit you back when something happens. That's why there's diss tracks, right? It's not about turning the other cheek. This is why Jesus, God worship was so revolutionary, because Jesus taught you to turn the other cheek, and it's not an eye for an eye, because that's what stops the killing. That's what stops the revenge, because revenge is the sweetest joy, as Tupac says, next to getting pussy, as he also mentions. But because of that revenge, it's avenged sevenfold, and that's talked about in the book of Genesis, how revenge is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. That's why Biggie even knew, man, I got to stop this. I got to go find God before more death happens. And it's crazy. That's why it's revolutionary what Tupac was also trying to say, but then he could tell you, well, there's some lessons I haven't learned. And I think the ultimate lesson that everyone still needs to learn is it's not an eye for an eye, y'all. It's not a tooth for a tooth. It's about forgiving people, and for people repenting if we actually want to get somewhere in this life. Because if not, we're still going to be voting for left or right, east or west. That's what we call politics these days, and democracies. When you're voting for things, it's really just what gangster do you want in out of the two. Because as we found out with people like Biden, Trump, all of them, they're all doing something shady with money, and money is the root of all evil, folks. And that's what's happening with all these people. That's why you have to be willing to forsake all to actually be able to not sell your soul in your life. And pretty interesting when all this is being shown in front of our eyes, and these type of cases. It's so real. I can't believe all this is coming full circle, where they're actually investigating these deaths now, and everything's coming full circle for P Diddy now, like they say, whether it's karma you believe in, or whether it's just truth that you believe in eventually coming to fruition. That's the adventure of life that we're all taking part of. So thank you, Rotten Mango. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's a crazy journalism that she is doing with her team. Exceptional team, which is incredible. And if you all are excited for part 4 of this pre-trial episodes of P Diddy, the next one is about the celebrities who are all a part and associated with him, and even the ones who are anti P Diddy, like a 50 Cent. So I'm really looking forward to that one too. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm hoping to get some of these out every single day to try to catch up to where they are in time, because she's putting some out every 2 days, and it's a lot. It's crazy, but that's why we love her. Thank you all so much for being here. Please hit the like button, comment down below all your thoughts through this, and let me know if you disagreed with even some of the things that I was saying. Let me know your side of the story too. Subscribe if you're not a Chronican yet, but we are now exiting the rabbit hole, folks. Peace and love, and God bless y'all.